said.
Is this what day is this?
It's Mail It In Friday.
Yeah, well, the dude abides.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 2. Brian Hayes, Jamie Noodles McLennan, and there's Jonas Siegel of the Athletic.
What's up,
What's
guys?
going on? How are we doing this afternoon?
I don't know, man. I just, I don't know what I saw last night. I got to be honest.
You're in Edmonton, too. Were you in the mosh pit last night? What were you doing last night?
Just hanging out. But, at the end of the day, I don't know what I saw. And we're all in group text, right? So I don't know, you, me, and O and Gino are on one. There's another one. There's a lot of moving parts. But I was on a group text where I actually laughed because I went back on the group text to see, as the game went along, to see what people were saying. It was outrageous. I can't imagine people's Twitter feed. They must have had to go and delete a bunch of stuff because
it
was the weirdest
the beauty
game.
Of it is Oiler fans were at the forefront of it all. And this is what ends up happening, and I always find this funny because I have no dog in the fight. I didn't tweet anything. I didn't send anything out until later in the evening about how great the game was, how great the series was.
Yeah,
and I've been caught doing that. I can't believe it. This is awful. And then it flips the other way. And then I've been kind of tracking it because it's kind of funny. You see Oiler fans going back, oh, tweeted something out, and other people have tweeted things out, other public figures. And Oiler fans are like, take that back. What do you think of that? And it's like, you weren't freaking out after the first period, Oiler fan.
Yes,
you weren't blasting the team and saying, what the hell's the matter with these guys? Oiler fans would have been freaking out more than anybody else after the first period.
That's what I mean, 100%. If they're, throwing garbage at the people from outside the market saying, take that back. Can you imagine what they were saying internally on their own? Of course
their mind.
It was ridiculous.
I always had faith. I always knew they'd come back. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. But they did, and it was an incredible game, man. 3 of the 4 games so far, Jonas, have been all-time great classics. Classic games.
I was thinking back this morning, is this the best final I've seen? And it feels like it. And I was trying to think back to previous years, and I can't really think of one that comes to mind immediately. Is that recency bias? Is this the best final you've seen?
Well, it probably is, but I do think that there's a Canadian element to it. I think McDavid and Draisaitl being involved. I think the 06 final was a great one. The 2010 or 2011 final, Vancouver-Boston was a great one.
That's what I was going to say. That one, and I was in the building for Game 7. It ended up being a 4-0 kind of dud. But in the end, that was a good series. That was a really good series. Two good teams going at it.
Boston-St. Louis in 19 was a great series.
Yeah, it went 7.
But I think it's different because it's a Canadian team and because of the superstars that are involved. It has everything you'd be looking for in terms of a compelling series if your own team isn't involved, right? Clearly, if your own team is involved, it's going to be much more captivating. But you've got the big bad Florida Panthers who are just mopping the floor with everyone and dismantling teams as they go effectively.
Yeah.
Third time in a cup final. They got these big, bold figures like Kachuk and Bennett and all these other guys, Marchand now. And then on Edmonton's side of things, you got McDavid and Draisaitl and individual greatness and them trying to chase down team greatness. I think you have everything you could possibly want in this cup final.
And it's the rematch.
Which adds to it. And that's the thing about watching that game last night. And the Oilers, they're not champions. They haven't won anything yet, but they act as if they are, and they perform like they are. That comeback last night, as bad as they were in the first, they were better. They were equally as good, if not better, in the second period to completely twist the game on its heels. And then I thought they played really well in the third. And obviously, Florida's built like a champion because they are, and they've got that ability to keep fighting. And Reinhart, of course, he ties it up. And off the stick of Kachuk to Reinhart, it's tied. The place is going nuts, and all hell's breaking loose, and everything is back on the table. But the Panthers are literally champions. But you look at the Oilers, man, like they haven't done it yet. They don't have the rings. They don't have the banners. But that was a championship effort and performance last night to recover the way they did.
Well, think about it. Okay, their last 4 periods, after that first period, their last 4 periods they had been dummied, outscored, just outclassed in all scenarios. Like, that first period was an ass-kicking.
Yeah, they got crushed, man.
I sent you guys the stats, and Jonas, you're being a hero, saying
I wasn't being a hero.
So being a hero.
I've never seen stats like that. Never. I'm not saying they're wrong. I've just never seen them.
Anyways.
39 high danger chances. I've never seen that.
39 to 36 for the high danger
insane.
chances, which it is insane. But I will say, this is where I was going to come back to. In the first period, Florida was so good. The high danger chances were 13 to 1. Now, Stu Skinner had allowed 3 goals, but he also stopped 10 high danger chances on top of it. I felt bad for him because, Pickard comes in, and Pickard did exactly what he needed to do, slam the door shut and give them an opportunity. But that was not Stu Skinner. That was not, a weak goaltending performance that we got to get him out of there. But that being said, it was a strategic pull that worked. And that's where, Knobloch, we've talked about it. Some of the things that he does, because, putting in Stetcher, it didn't really work. Stetcher gets run over, gives that turnover to Verhaeghe, and it's in the back of the net. And I think he plays like 2 shifts after that. So, that, Klingberg will go back in probably for Stetcher, and where you can protect him on home ice. But that pull, it can go either way, right?
And there's no losing at that point. Like, if
exactly.
I guess the point is, if Pickard goes in and gives up 1 or 2 quick, you're like, well, it was over anyway. The only reason why, you can look back on it the way that you are is because they showed up, they started playing, they started scoring, and it was depth players. It was the depth players that scored, and Nugent Hopkins gets them on the board, but Darnell Nurse with a beauty.
Kapanen assist.
And Kapanen with an assist, absolutely. And, you're right about Skinner. Now, it was somewhat of a mercy pull / inspiration to the group, like we're pulling him out. Yeah, you just said, the Stetcher Klingberg thing. There's no way Skinner's playing again. Yeah. Like, there's, in my opinion, clearly he can't start Game 5.
Not next game.
He cannot start Game 5. You got to just go with Pickard now. He never loses. And I thought he was brilliant last night. He made some stops in overtime that were unbelievable. The Bennett one-timer, this one right here.
Yeah,
that's
one
an
right
unbelievable
there.
save. And
I thought it was in, guys. I thought
they were going to buzzer it late. I thought it was going to be one of those down-the-ice buzzers.
100%.
And it didn't work out that way. But
he made 2 big saves in overtime, and I also think it was Luosterainen or Lundell in the second period was in alone on a partial, a tiny breakaway for Lundell in, and he makes the blocker save. So I had been saying this. Stu Skinner has faced, I think, 5 breakaways that I can think of recently. One was Tyler Seguin in Dallas, and then Reinhart, Marchand, a couple times, and then Bennett. And the only one he'd stopped was where Reinhart missed the net. You need a save at the right time. The Oilers in the second period, so they were outchanced in the first period, 13 to 1. The Oilers had 20 high danger chances in the second period, 20 to 3. It was insane how they tilted the ice.
And you got to also look at Florida. They were awful, right? Like,
yes,
it's got to go both ways. You can't just yell, well, the Edmonton was horrendous, but Florida was great. It was flipped because Florida, again, that's a championship team that completely mailed it in after they were up 3-0. Like, that's I've noticed people in Florida, harping on them, and I think it's deserved. Like, you're up 3-0 on home ice after what? You got to win that game. Like, you should be up 3-1 in the Cup final, and they threw that away. Now, credit to Edmonton for coming back and taking it. But if I'm in Florida right now, I'm looking at this saying we may have just thrown away our opportunity. Like, it's a best 2 out of 3. They're still a very good team, clearly. They're going to keep playing. I think this is probably going 7 now. But you give a team like Florida a 3-0 lead on home ice, that's got to be a win. It has to be.
Yes.
And it obviously went the opposite way. And then, who's the guy that does it in the end? It's Draisaitl, and it's a fluky, crazy bounce. But that's 4 overtime winners this season. 4 overtime winners in one playoff run. And we did our clutch shot earlier in the week, and that's why he was in mine, and I didn't have McDavid in, because I was like, I got to put winners in, and I'll make one exception. And when it comes to clutch, I'm sorry, there's no one like Draisaitl. Like, the guy, he's a beast. I thought he was unreal last night. I thought McDavid was good. I thought McDavid was very good at times and had opportunities. But to me, it was Draisaitl that drove the bus. And I think it's fitting and justified that he gets the OT winner, because it's just natural for him. That's just what he does.
He was fantastic when needed to be. But I felt bad for those guys in the first period, because I thought Darnell Nurse and Evander Kane did their best to almost take them right out of the game. Like, I'm sorry, and it's just, you know what I mean? The penalties, but it's the lack of awareness at the time of the penalties. Evander Kane's taken like 4 stick penalties. Like, he checks. I text Struddy, we'll ask him, but Evander Kane checks with his stick and high. So all of a sudden the stick gets high, and like the Oilers, the lack of discipline after them getting 4 penalties in Game 3 in the first period, they come back with 3 in the first period last night, and you're like, what the hell are they doing?
Now,
like,
I thought Nurse redeemed himself. I thought he was really good the rest of the way. Nurse redeemed himself significantly. Kane, I didn't notice a lot, as the game went on. But now you got a best 2 out of 3, and this is probably the way it should be. Like, 3 thrilling games. Game 3 was obviously a throwaway. Florida just pounced and beat up on Edmonton. But, we said it yesterday. It was a must-win for the Oilers. They had to win, and they found a way to win, and you shrink the series, best 2 out of 3, home ice. They've been great at home. Again, Pickard starts Game 5. I don't know what your mini Jerry's is that you're going to see Skinner again at any point this playoff run. I guess it's possible. If Pickard gets shelled in the first, that Skinner goes back in tomorrow night.
It's just like 50%.
It is wild that the two of them are just jockeying back and forth over a Stanley Cup run. It's crazy.
It is. Considering, like, we've seen it in previous years, but you've seen one guy just grab it and go, right? Like, it was Grubauer before Holtby. It was Scott Darling and then into Crawford. It was Marc-Andre Fleury into Matt Murray.
Who was it before Aiden Hill? It was Aiden Hill took over in the...
Well, it was Larry Brossoit.
Oh, yeah.
Larry Brossoit. Larry Brossoit got hurt.
But Hill took it,
right?
Never looked back. This is literally just a game of pickleball between these two.
But it is weird, and this is where, it's probably a bigger conversation after all the series is over, because I said to somebody this morning, actually, I said to my mom, we were talking, my mom's like, I feel so bad for that Stuart Skinner. And I was like, Mom, like it happens. And we were talking about it. But I said, you only talk about goaltending when you don't have it, like when there's uncertainty. Like, they're not talking about Bob letting in, that was it wasn't a bad goal. The overtime goal was a bad.
Noodles?
No, but like you're beating him high, like the Pod Colson just goes above the pad. Like, but when I look at it, though, Jonas, like, he made so many unreal saves that you go, okay, if one squeaks through here, one squeak. Like, I sent the stats to you. Like, the expected goals were 9.6 for Edmonton last night. They could have put up a 10 spot. And, they got 5.
They had some great opportunity. Like, Bob made some unbelievable saves in the third and in overtime.
Well,
and yet he gave up 5.
Exactly. The McDavid, where he walks Ekblad, like, that's a highlight reel,
it
goal.
Was, but that wasn't even his best stop, because McDavid was kind of getting checked. Like, the one on Perry with his toe was unbelievable.
Yes, it was.
And he made a couple of, like, just crazy 10-bell stops. And, you're right. Bob is not even a part of the conversation. With Edmonton, it will continue to be, but we have to believe Pickard will start tomorrow night. But speaking of goaltending, the awards, they're kind of coming out of nowhere. Like, I wasn't prepared for awards to be announced yesterday. And we saw something we haven't seen in about a decade, and that is Connor Hellebuyck wins the Vezina, not unanimously, but also wins the Hart, and kind of ran away with the Hart Trophy. So he did what Carey Price did back in the day. I think this is the right play. I don't have a vote in either. Obviously, he was winning the Vezina, clearly. But I thought he should have won the Hart as well. But
I'm just checking to see what I did. I can't
did not
remember.
have him first.
You didn't?
So
Jonas?
both of you guys have a vote for the Hart.
We do.
Okay.
So actually, nope, I did. I had him at 1. I had Draisaitl at 2, Kucherov at 3, McKinnon at 4, Eichel at 5. That's what I did.
Okay.
And those are, you can look them up. Like, I'm not
And they're
lying
all
because I believe
that
it's
ballpark.
published, right?
It is,
Jonas?
yeah.
You can.
Yeah.
Well,
you
what
can
did you
see
have,
who
Jonas?
Off the top of my head, I had Draisaitl 1, which I feel good about.
Mm-hmm.
I had,
Yeah.
I think I went off the board with this one that you won't be happy. I had Makar 2.
Nazem Kadri.
No, I had
What's that?
Makar 2, best defenseman in the league.
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
Then I had McKinnon 3. And then I had Kucherov 4, if I'm not mistaken, and I had Hellebuyck 5.
Okay. Yeah, listen,
He hates
I don't.
goalies.
My thought on Hellebuyck winning it was that I didn't think the other guys had like career years and
Separation.
compared to what they've done in the past. Draisaitl.
My guy
included, McKinnon.
Vasilevsky ended up pretty good.
Well, he ended up second, and I was getting into it with people last night online because credit to Anthony Stolarz, who was unbelievable. He got a second place vote
Really?
from somebody to win the Vezina. Second
James
place.
Myrtle.
He played
That
like
would have been it.
He
Did he
started
play
33
40
games.
games? Yeah.
He
Oh my
played at
God.
34. He
34
started
games.
33.
We can find out who
It's
that
an executive,
was, though.
I believe the
Yeah,
executives.
we don't vote on
it
that.
wasn't.
So we're never.
That's
I don't know
right.
if we are going to figure that out. But unless it's tree living, I guess we could try to send him
probably
a
tree.
note. It could be. I mean,
Second.
someone voted for their own guy.
Well,
Like
of
Stolarz.
course. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Why
well,
wouldn't you?
Listen, Stolarz had an unbelievable year. He led the league in save percentage, but 33 starts. To me,
Yeah.
you shouldn't even qualify
Yes.
for the
No.
conversation. Like Vasilevsky started 30 more games than Stolarz and had a save percentage .005 points less. Like he's basically the same save percentage with 30 more starts, to say nothing of Logan Thompson or Darcy Kemper or whoever. So, credit to Stolarz. And if he had started even just another 10 games, 10, 12, 15, then totally justified he's in the top 3 or top 5. But that's not, the story. The story is Hellebuyck and how great he was.
Yeah.
And, the conversation about whether or not goalies, did he have a great enough year to win the Hart? And I think he did. Best player on the best team all year, President's Trophy, unbelievable numbers, started 1 million games. And again, I don't think the other guys, did enough compared to what they've done in the past.
Yeah.
The Kucherovs, the McKinnons, the Draisaitl's, the McDavids, the Nick Suzuki's, who got a first-place vote by someone out there
Seriously?
to win the Hart.
Gee, shocker.
Someone had Nick Suzuki number 1 to win the Hart on their ballot.
It's a Montreal scribe, obviously. Like, it's not like
Wow.
you get it. We
he
can
was
look that
unreal
up
down
too.
the stretch. He was great.
They're just
great.
our other
But not-
players.
Yeah, so were a lot of other players. Like it just.
I understand.
This is the thing. This is where, Jonas. I don't know how you feel about it, but this is. I think it's your duty if you vote. I take it very seriously and
too.
try not to be biased and go, okay, yeah. Like I watch 700-800 games a year. I watch the whole league. So I don't really have a favorite team. I have favorite players and I have favorite guys that you want to see win and all of that type of stuff. But I don't have this allegiance and. It'd be easy for me to, I cover the Ottawa Senators 50 games. Oh, Jake Sanderson, Norris, like Tim Stützle's got to be up. Like, instead of going, okay, let's take a look at the league. Let's dig in on numbers, impact, all of that type of stuff. Like, for somebody that's a Montreal scribe.
Apparently, it's someone in Minnesota, is what JP is trying to tell me.
No way.
I find that hard to believe. But,
Cousin? Like who?
well,
like who-
exactly.
It's not
Rick,
Michael
Rick
Russo.
Suzuki from the Minnesota Star. But listen, he in the nature of the award, incredibly valuable,
Yeah.
very valuable to his team. The Habs were a shock team to make the playoffs, the most
Yes.
surprising team in the league to make the playoffs. And they did so in large part because of what Suzuki did the final 20 or 30 games. He was unbelievable. I could reason with like a third or fourth or fifth place vote. I wouldn't necessarily put him there, but I can reason with it. But to suggest he was more valuable than Hellebuyck or Draisaitl, to me is just absurd. It's just it's crazy. Like McDavid didn't even get a first place vote, which is justified. He shouldn't have. Like he wasn't the most valuable player this year.
Okay, but this guy's list We might have to, like, I mean, honestly, I'm not going to, you guys can look up the name. He goes Nick Suzuki, Leon Draisaitl, Nikita Kucherov, Jack Eichel, and Nico Hischier was his 5th pick.
Oh,
Nico
wow.
Hischier, okay. Two-way
thinks
center
for
down
himself.
in Jersey. Back to
Yeah,
in
but
the playoffs.
That's something.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that-
Like,
that's
this is,
the guy that
again,
grew
like
up.
you're,
I always like guys like to see
I don't
who
know
the
what he was
players.
doing.
I like seeing who the players vote.
you can't defend that, Brian.
No,
That's the thing.
there's no defining it. There's no defending it, and I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, that guy. It's just an absurd list. It's an absurd. I'm actually more. I'm more offended by Hischier at 5 than I am Suzuki at 1.
Well, yeah, exactly.
at
We
5
should take a
is-
step back. Nick Suzuki is an unbelievable player, and he played
Hischier's a great
amazing and
player.
had a career.
Great
And so
player.
they both are. But also, you need context. I would love to hear this guy's context as to, like, how did you arrive at that? Like, you know, how did you arrive at this list as you felt like New Jersey, like, stumbled into the playoffs? Maybe he was like, okay, there was no Jack Hughes, and they ended up, you know,
That would
Hischier
be
was
my
a big
thought.
part of it.
Injuries in Jersey and Hischier kind
Injuries
of
and-
carried them home, but I don't
Fair
know.
enough, but it
There's-
just, I don't
it's a
know.
weird list.
Again,
That's why we do
Yes.
the Lou Brown Awards, right? We do the Lou
Yeah.
Brown Awards because a lot of the voters just they don't make any sense.
Yeah.
So, all right, Struddy's coming up in 10. Mike Johnson will join us. You know, there's this Mitch Marner reports and rumors going around. He's not coming back. You know, I don't really
That's not news.
think it matters who is trying to report what. It doesn't seem likely that Marner's going to be a Maple Leaf moving forward. But, you know, we'll discuss that with Johnny. And, you know, we wait news on what's going to happen with Tavares and Nyes and others. And, Jonas, you can tell us about, you know, kind of what you see coming forward or, you know, moving into the future with the Maple Leafs. We got Game 4 of the NBA Finals tonight. C.J. Miles will join us. We're tracking the U.S. Open. Jays are down in Philly playing the Phillies tonight. They just played them very well a week ago. Gosman on the mound for the Jays, so we'll get into that as well a little bit later on. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
on TSN 1050. Your Toronto Argos take on the Calgary Stampeders for their 2025 home opener at BMO Field. Coverage starts at 3:30 p.m. Hear it all on TSN 1050. The Argos live here. Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Brian Hayes, Jamie Noodles, McLennan, Jonas Siegel of The Athletic in here. Mike Johnson coming up. We're tracking the U.S. Open. J.J. Spawn out on the course, 4 under for the tournament. Thurston Lawrence, 4 under for the tournament.
What a name.
Yeah, what a handle. Thurston. I think I'm saying that right. Or is it Thriston? Even better. Thriston Lawrence.
I would prefer Thurston.
Thurston would be. Are you thirsty? I'm Thurston.
No, Gilligan's Island. I'm old enough to remember it. You guys aren't, but there was that show, Gilligan's Island.
Yep.
Thurston Howell III.
All right, so maybe it should be Thurston. I'm going with Thurston then. Forget it. We're sticking with that.
Thurston.
Speaking of old school, do you see that Spaceballs 2 is coming out? They're making a Spaceballs 2, and Rick Moranis is coming out of retirement. He hasn't acted in 30 years. Rick Moranis.
But I just, you know what it is? I'll watch it, but it's a money grab.
Of course, they all are. Happy Gilmore 2, all these old movies that were big 30, 40 years ago.
Remember Dumb and Dumber came out? There was a Dumb and Dumber, but the two guys weren't even in it, where it was Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. They weren't even in it, and that was just a nightmare. And then they came out with Dumb and Dumber 2, and that was
awful.
That didn't go so well.
It was
yeah, it was bad.
It was bad. It wasn't funny. They're too old now. You can't do it.
The only sequels that I like Bonds, I like Mission Impossibles, I like the Bourne series too, like Jason Bourne.
What is your number one sequel of all time? Because there's a lot of good ones.
Bourne Supremacy, I would say Bourne Identity, Bourne Supremacy, those. I like the Bournes.
Bourne movies are so good, man.
They're so good for me, and they are one of my favorite because I don't know. I always say, Shawshank Redemption is one of my favorite. It was on the other day. I had to watch it. I don't know why. I've seen it 100 times. I was still watching it. So the Bournes I like because I feel like they. The plot is kind of the same. There's great action, and I'm a big Matt Damon fan. I think he's cool. So that's I don't know. What other ones can you think of?
Well, The Godfather.
Yeah, Godfather Part 2 is.
Yeah, it's always at the top of the list, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Terminator 2.
Yeah, Terminator 2 is really, really good. That's a great twist. That's kind of what you needed. The same thing with The Godfather 2, where it's totally different. It's about, the next generation, but also looking back on Vito's, life when he first gets to New York and all that kind of stuff. Same thing with Terminator 2. When Schwarzenegger shows up and he's a good guy in Terminator 2, it is wild scene.
It is wild.
It is such a great
Sarah
scene.
Connor.
Yes. Eddie Furlong. Remember he's on that dirt bike, flying through the mall and everything? It's unbelievable scene. Great action.
Yeah.
So I'm not holding my breath that Spaceballs 2 will be in the same category of kind of acceptance and excitement. But Rick Moranis, do you know that he used to be an old radio guy in Toronto?
Really?
Yeah, he was a top 40 guy at CFTR back in the day.
I know him from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah, he was a big actor. Then I want to say his wife passed away and he just said, I'm done. And he stopped working. But he used to be a radio guy in Toronto.
Well, he was
spinning hits, top 40 stuff back in the day.
He was a star for me because I grew up on the SCTV bandwagon, where it was John Candy, Rick Moranis, Martin Short, Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara, Andrea Martin. You go down the line, that. And I know it was shot Second City in Toronto, but. They did some episodes I think I've told you this.
In Edmonton all the time.
They did them in Edmonton all the time. They were on Letterman. I just saw this interview the other day come up on my reels or whatever, and it was Joe Flaherty and John Candy talking about Edmonton, how they were filming in Edmonton. It was Billy Stamavolichki. He was the hockey
in Edmonton.
player.
Yeah, I don't think they were in Toronto a lot, unless they were literally doing comedy and stuff here.
I think they started there. Yeah.
Yeah. My brother-in-law writing in Home Alone 2. Great sequel. Home Alone 2 is epic. Yes. Outstanding sequel.
Excellent.
What about
Back to the
Home
Future
Alone,
2?
Back to the Future, pretty good. Yeah,
solid.
Back to the Future 2, pretty good.
With Home Alone, didn't a surgeon or a doctor go through all of the things that the injuries that could have been sustained.
Well,
with
it's
the
a
irons to the
movie.
head and
You have to
I know.
expand your imagination.
But they were like, this guy would have had a concussion 400 times.
Dude,
and like,
the bricks off Marv's head in Home Alone 2 kills you immediately. Like, the first brick kills you immediately. There's a scene in Home Alone 1, or maybe it's Home Alone 2, where he is literally a skeleton. Like, you can see his skeleton. That's how much he's been electrocuted. And then he just gets up and chases him up the stairs. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
All right, here's a guy that I'm sure last night had full faith in the Oilers' comeback through 20 minutes. Here's Jason Strudwick. Struddy, what were you saying to yourself after 20 minutes last night?
Well, it was insane. I mean, they couldn't have had a worse start. You know, okay, stay out of the penalty box, get your feet moving. They did the opposite of that. And so I was actually at the watch party downtown with my kids. And, I mean, it was packed. The place was jammed, sold out. And the energy in there to start was great. And then within 10 minutes, it was gone. It was, like, not good at all. Kind of like Noodles on a spin class, right? Goes in hot and he dies off. And it was amazing. Like, then they started scoring again. You're like, what is going on? Why do they do everything so hard, right? Like, it's the energy is crazy. It's such a fun series, such a great series.
well, Struddy, this is the one thing, and you and I were texting a little bit, like, have you ever seen the swings here? And not even just the swings as a team, but the swings individually. Like, Darnell Nurse should have taken his gear off after the first period, and then all of a sudden he's a world beater in the second period. Have you ever seen this with individual players where it's like that guy was ridiculously bad, and then all of a sudden he's unbelievable the rest of the game? Like, I haven't seen it to that degree with players. Evander Kane, the same thing. Although I didn't think Kane had a great game, but I thought Nurse really responded.
Yeah, so, you look at Darnell Nurse, you take that penalty, you're down 5-on-4, and I understand what he's trying to do. I think, if I was that, I'd probably gone straight at him and not had my right leg on his left leg to clip him. You just kind of take him and then kind of push him into the wall, get your stick around, hope he knocks the puck around. Well, instead he clips the leg and down he goes. And I get it. Like, he's trying to not look frustrated, but in that moment, I mean, that's a really tough penalty to take, considering that Evander Kane just high-stuck a guy for no reason, and then a few short minutes later, Ekholm takes another one. So, you go into that dressing room and probably thinking, man, I've got to get something going here. So you're looking for something good to happen. And what's crazy is it probably comes off the guy who hasn't played, Jeff Skinner. He goes and finds that puck, not a no-end grinder, but he grinds it out, is able to find the puck, and it ends up getting to Nurse after, pretty quick order. And Nurse all of a sudden unlocks his game. And scoring does help you, does get confidence. So everyone is different. For some guys it's being physical, others winning draws, whatever, but it gets your game going. And I thought Darnell really got his game going. And if you're an Oilers fan, can he now carry that through for another 180 minutes plus? Can that confidence carry through his game? And, Evander Kane's not there. His game has dipped off since, the last little while here. And he's got to find another gear because he can have an impact on this series. But, when you look at it, last night the Stars of Florida really, I thought, had a good game. But there's been games where they haven't. And then same, Connor McDavid last night I thought was muted. And that's not like Connor McDavid where Leon was good. So it's so interesting to look game by game within a series how you have different players rising and falling in what they're bringing.
Well, you're right about McDavid. I mean, he had some moments, but I was waiting for him to really get going, and it didn't seem to happen. Yet Draisaitl walks out of there with 3 points. A primary assist on the first one where he set up Nugent Hopkins, and then, of course, he gets the OT winner. And, the Gretzky-Messier years, it was Gretzky's the man, but Messier is this leader that's so clutch. And, is that what we're seeing here again, Struddy, that, Draisaitl, I guess what I'm asking is, what is he building here legacy-wise? Because we keep focusing on McDavid, because he's got a chance at passing Crosby or Lemieux or maybe catching Gretzky, and that's not the category Draisaitl's in. But could he be considered a better player than Mark Messier in 10 years? Is that possible when his career is done?
Well, I mean, that'd be insane if that's what happens. But this is kind of when you're on a team with a generational player. You kind of are a little bit under the gun and are a little bit kind of hidden. I'm looking at a guy like Malkin in Pittsburgh. And, he is an amazing player. And every other team in the league, he's a number one center. except that one because you have Sidney Crosby. So I think that's similar here with Connor McDavid. But I don't think that really bothers him. He just wants to win. He enjoys playing with his buddy when they're doing well. But the way he's playing right now is he's really doing a lot of good things out there. He's scoring goals. He's getting things done. 5-on-5. He's playing with, it feels like, a new line mate or two every time. Like whoever wins the lottery that weekend gets to play with Leon Draisaitl, it feels like. And I don't think he really cares. He just wants to win. That's all he's driven by is winning. His play has been elite, truly elite. And I know he didn't win the Hart Trophy. I think I would. I don't have a vote, obviously, but he was close. I thought he could have got it. If he maybe played those 10 extra games, maybe he gets it. But he has been the best player in the league this year, and that counts 97 who sits beside him in the room.
Well, Hayes, I think what you're getting at, and maybe I'll ask Struddy before I make you mad, is he the greatest sidekick in NHL history?
Well, that's the question, man.
Because I wrote down some other ones. I had Yager, Messier, Forsberg, Malkin were the ones that just popped into my head. You can make a case.
He's right there. I mean, if he continues on, those other guys have had the personal success with cups and all of that, but like the hardware, Draisaitl's, what is he at? He has 2 Rockets now? Is that 2?
Yeah, a couple Rockets, one Hart. Yeah, he's been in the Hart chase a couple different times. Art Ross, absolutely. I mean, did he do basically another question? I think within the realm of this Cup final is he neck and neck with McDavid now for the Conn Smythe if the Oilers win? How do you see that playing out, Strud?
Yeah. Well, one other duo would be Jamie McLennan to Roman Turek, right? that duo.
It is an all-time great.
Well, we want the Jennings.
But Turek was the backup there. He was the number 2 guy.
It only took 4 minutes to Noodles to bring up his Jennings trophy. I see it all the time. Enough. We know you won the Jennings.
I technically didn't win. I didn't play enough games. They didn't give me a trophy. I asked for a trophy. They're like, no, you didn't play enough games. Sorry, buddy.
Denied the Jennings.
Yeah. It's because you still owed money. You still owe the league money for that dirty slash in the playoffs, right? They're not until you pay that fine. It's like the library. You can't get any more books out.
Exactly.
That's true.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know what, guys? I think Leon has been so good for this group, and I can only say it in so many different ways. But I'm going to throw a dark horse at you, and this is insane. I'm going to say this, but can Cal Pickard, could he even get some votes the way he's played? Because without him, they're not here. Without his play, they're not where they're at right now.
He never loses. Although someone made a great point last night. Technically, Skinner still has never lost a Game 4. Because they didn't lose last night.
That's true. Yeah. That is true.
He's great in Game 4s. But, yeah, I think Pickard, if you're doing a pecking order, it feels like McDavid, Draisaitl, probably Bouchard would have to be in that. And then it probably is Pickard, like if the MVPs of the run, so to speak. And yet last night, I thought what was necessary and important to match what Florida seemingly does every night is you need depth. And it's Podkolzin scoring. It's Wallman scoring a big goal. Darnell Nurse with a beauty. Like, you get 2 goals from the point and then a goal from Podkolzin. That's going to put you in a really good spot, Strud. And that's what happened last night.
Well, they talked about maybe the depth scoring for the Oilers have gone away. And listen, Florida's a good team. Maybe we all, me included, I thought the Oilers in 5. Now, that looks unlikely at this point. But, when you look at the whole situation and the way that Florida, they're a really deep and good team. And the impact of Marchand, it just cannot be overlooked. He's been so important to stabilize that kind of that middle 6, or I guess, the bottom 6. But the Oilers are finding a way to get it done. It's not always pretty. And that's the challenge, I think, for this group. Get out of your own way. Get out of your own way. That the penalties, trying to be a little bit too fancy on the breakouts. Get that puck and get it up the ice as quick as you can. Man, maybe you have to use the glass. Just wait for Florida to make a mistake, because that's what they're doing to you. So how do they get out of their own way? And can they do that right away tomorrow night in Edmonton?
So, Strud, Chris Knobloch had some adjustments. The goalie pull, I thought, it ended up working out, obviously, because Pickard comes in and slams the door, does a good enough job, makes some big saves at the right time. The Stetcher, it didn't work out. I mean, Stetcher, had a tough shift, and I think he had like 2 shifts after that the rest of the game. Do you think there'll be adjustments for tomorrow's game? Obviously on home ice, would Stetcher come out for Klingberg where you could protect him on home ice with the last change type of thing, or you just roll the same lineup?
Well, we'll start up front, and I think that Jeff Skinner stays in, and I truly feel, guys, that this player is going to have a moment in this. And now he's got, he didn't get an assist last night, I don't think, but he was, the reason that they scored that goal, Nurse's goal. But he's going to have a moment, so I leave him in there for Arvidsson. On the back end, Stetcher comes out. I put Klingberg in. The Oilers can play with 5D. All those 5 guys can play north of 20 minutes. So that's not the issue. But I want to have that extra layer of guys that if I need to, I can use them. So I think Klingberg can come in, and he's played good moments, good minutes for this team. But you're right. I think you shelter him a little bit more when you go through. On the back end, I think it's clear it's Pickard goes in the net. But they really miss Hyman, which is a fairly obvious statement, because they're looking for someone to play beside Connor and Nuge. And Connor Brown last night was there, and his game, I think he's fighting an injury. There's a nagging injury there, but they don't really have anybody there that fits. So that is the spot I'm looking for. Who do you put there? And then what about Evander Kane? Kane's game's dipped off. Does he play beside Leon? They put Paul Colson up there a bit. But do you want Kane to break up the line? The line I thought was great. It was Frederic, Henrique, and Skinner. That was a really good line yesterday. Yep. You want to break that line up. So, that I think this is where they're really missing Hyman. And I'm not saying if they had him, it'd be a slam dunk, but the line is just set up easier when he is there. Unfortunately, they don't. They got to figure out maybe Brown stays up there with McDavid.
Struddy, was Taylor Swift at the Spangler Cup gold medal game or what?
I think she was 2. I don't think she was old enough. But she's heard the legend. She's heard the whispers around, Switzerland.
She knows when she rolled through Switzerland, they were still talking about that silver medal that you picked up.
Silver medals hanging in the rafters for the Strudwick jersey.
Well, let's hope she's in Edmonton. If she is, who's a bigger deal out there, you think? Taylor Swift or Noodles being back home?
Well, Noodles, I love how Noodles finds a way to come home for a work trip. That's amazing. Like, how does that even work?
What are you talking about?
Like Wednesday? Have you been?
Well, other guy. Here's the other thing, Struddy. There's another guy who's supposed to be on the panel, but he's
not even
not
on
available.
This show, he's in Toronto.
He's not
even on this one. Forget the Edmonton
this
panel.
Show.
Yeah, we couldn't get him out of bed this afternoon, so Jonas was nice enough to slide in. He's probably watching right now.
He was tired. He had that big tweet. About 10 people sent me his tweet where he wrote, "That's it." And I was like, man, he might be right. And then it came back to like, I don't want to respond. I don't want to jinx it. So that was a great one. That's it.
Yep.
Just minimalist.
It's over.
But then he had the follow-up where he goes, "I was hacked." I loved it.
Oh, did he say that?
Gotta play that
He
role.
goes, sorry, account was hacked.
Back on
hilarious.
the belief trade. Back on the Oilers belief trade.
Oh,
all right, Struddy. Enjoy it tomorrow night.
Hey,
thanks for doing this.
Yeah, Noodles, don't work too hard tomorrow. I know. What do you got? About a 4-minute panel for a 5-day trip?
Well, I'm waiting for you to buy me lunch, though. I don't want to. But we've talked about this before. You invented copper wire by stretching a penny, so I'm going to have to buy you lunch.
You can come to my son's flag football tournament. It's going to be. I just bought him a mouse guard. Looks like a urinal cake. It's so big.
All right, Strud. Have fun with that. Thanks, buddy. Happy Father's Day.
Yeah, likewise. See you, boys.
All right, there he is, Jason Strudwick. Father's Day weekend out there too. That'll be good tomorrow night. All right, so we got Mike Johnson coming up, and there's some rumors flying around about the Leafs, and there's some big news pertaining to the voice of the Maple Leafs. We'll get into that as well. Jonas is in here. Jamie Noodles McLennan. I'm Brian Hayes. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
tomorrow on TSN 1050. Your Toronto Argos take on the Calgary Stampeders for their 2025 home opener at BMO Field. Coverage starts at 3:30 p.m. Hear it all on TSN 1050. The Argos live here. Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, so the projected cut line at the U.S. Open is 6 over par, which if that's the case, looks like a lot of Canadians are going to get into the weekend. Corey Connors is at 6 over. Mackenzie Hughes at 5 over. He's in. Nick Taylor 4 over. Pendrith is 3 over, still in the course. So we might get all 4 Canadians into the weekend, which would be great. We'll track that. We've got Jays Phillies tonight down in Philly. Mike Johnson in about 15 minutes. But our good friend Joe Bowen announced this morning that next year will be his final season behind the mic as the voice of the Maple Leafs, which is just incredible. That'll be 45 years as the voice
Farewell
of the
tour,
team.
eh?
Farewell tour. That's it. Bonesy, he's called, I think he wrote over 3,800 games, which is just a remarkable career. And, that's my whole life. Growing up in Toronto, I've never heard anyone else. Like, I've heard other people call some games, but he didn't miss many. Like, I don't think he's missed many over the course of his career in terms of play-by-play on the radio. And
I
just
feel
the
like he's
definition
missed
of the voice of a team.
Yeah, I feel like the only games he's ever missed is to go see Green Bay play. Like,
or the Fighting Irish. He did that earlier this year. He's like, we're going to see the championship game. And Notre Dame was playing the Rose Bowl or something. And he's like, I'm out of here, which I can appreciate
I'm out
greatly.
for that night.
But he is as synonymous with the team as almost any player I can think of. Like when you think of like the Maple Leafs for the last 40 years throughout my life, the first names that would come to mind would be like the Wendell Clarks and the Doug Gilmores and the Matt Sundins and Austin Matthews and Joe Bowen. I mean, Bowen is really not far behind any of those guys. And it speaks to the connection he has with the fans and how great he's been forever. And next year is going to be bittersweet. It'll be a celebrated year, as it should be. It'll be an amazing year to hear him call all those games, and hopefully the Leafs can actually do something special for him. That would be nice. But, congrats to Bonesy on the announcement, and we're going to get him on probably in the fall. We'll have him on a bunch, and we can't wait for that.
That'd be great. I mean, he's a legend, and certainly that's the hardest part is the next person in. Like, that's huge shoes to fill. Like, huge.
Yeah. It's following Johnny Carson, basically. I mean, that's kind of what it is. So I guess Jay Leno had a good run. He did good. Jay had a good run, and then Jay kind of sewered Conan O'Brien. So keep your eyes on whoever the next guy is. He's shifty.
Exactly.
Whoever takes over for Joe Bowen's a shifty character.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're right. Tough shoes to fill, needless to say. But luckily for Leaf fans and for us, we don't have to worry about that, right? Because next year, Bonesy will still be calling games.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there you go. Jonas, you got anything on that? You've been here. You know Joe pretty well.
I do know Joe very well. Like, it's just unique to be able to be like a synonymous voice with a team. Like, I think of like Vin Scully. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, there's some people you just associate with a team. You associate Joe with the Leafs, and that's pretty special.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And, we'll see what the Leafs have in store. There's, I guess, Andy Strickland. I don't know how he would have had the report today that Mitch Marner, he can report and confirm, is not returning to the Leafs.
He's probably tight with the agent. That's what I would think. Like, Andy's pretty. I will say Andy's
he's
pretty
a good
dialed
reporter.
in.
I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying he's the one that I guess has jumped out in front of the line and said that it's defined, like Marner's not coming back. Now that can be seen both ways. That doesn't mean it's only Mitch has decided. It could be the Leafs are like, we're not bringing you back.
Regardless,
it could be a two-way street. Even if you want to return, you're not. But we'll get more into this, with Mike Johnson coming up and what it's going to look like. And the Marner legacy, again, it's too raw right now to talk about it, like what it's going to be long-term. We had the discussion last week. You got to wait 10, 15, 20 years before you really look back on it. But it's going to be strange because, like Joe Bowen, Mitch Marner has been synonymous with the Leafs for a long time. 9 straight years where he's played basically every night and been a great player and local guy, and people have connected to him. There's a lot of Marner jerseys out there, and it doesn't seem as if he's going to play for the Leafs again. So more on that into the next hour. Jason, action. We're tracking the U.S. Open Game 4 of the NBA Finals tonight. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and up on YouTube Live.
It's Mail It In Friday.
The plant called and said if you don't come in tomorrow, don't bother coming in Monday.
Woohoo! 4-day weekend.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Hour 2 OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Brian Hayes, Jamie Noodles, McLennan, Jonas Siegel of The Athletic. Mike Johnson here in a moment on the Cup final. On the Vezina, on the Hart Trophy voting. There's a lot going on in the NHL right now. Game 4 of the NBA Finals tonight. A little bit surprising on FanDuel, Oklahoma City favored by 6.5 tonight.
Think that's too much?
Yeah, I think so, man. They don't cover numbers on the road in the playoffs. I want to say they're 0-7 now, or 0-8 against the spread. And, you know, I anticipate they win tonight, but 6.5 is a pretty big number. Like Indiana, yeah. I don't think they're going to run them out of the gym, man. And the Pacers can backdoor cover almost anyone because they never stop. They keep running at you all throughout the game.
I think it's just the expectation, Hayes, that they're just going to – they can't go down 3-1.
They have to win.
Right? Like, they're going to come – they're going to win. They weren't very good last game. They'll bounce back. Shea will be better. I don't know.
Will he? I mean, that's the question.
He was amazing the game before.
Yeah. So. Yeah, he was – and I didn't think he was awful the other night, but his shooting percentage, even, you know, game 1, again, he put up a lot of shots, which is what he does, but he wasn't overly efficient. I just think the Pacers, they're a really good team. Like, they're a really good team. Yeah. And at home court in the NBA playoffs is so significant. Oklahoma City just has not been good on the road. I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Pacers won tonight.
That's the thing, though. Like, it's you head into 3-1 or 2-2. It's must-win territory, right? Like, it's so critical. Like, that's why it was so critical for Edmonton last night. Like, that was curtains, man. After that first period, like, that looked like curtains. And, like, I was getting texts, you know, internally going, okay, well, what's your schedule look like if Florida wins in 5 type of thing? Like, where are you flying? Like, you know, it's only natural. I mean, they were down 3 Cobb and looked terrible. So you're going, okay, how's this look? Like, that's the beauty of playing these games. But, you know, I don't know NBA is a little bit. Is it more predictable than the NHL or not really?
Generally, home court is more predictable.
Yes.
You know, or more seemingly beneficial to that team. But it's the same scenario. Like, Oklahoma City's got home court in the series, and they're down 2-1 going into Game 4. They have to win tonight. Like, you have to win.
It's a must-win.
Yeah, if you're down 3-1, I think it's over. I think the Pacers will win that. Probably not win Game 5, but will win Game 6, I think, at home. So, must-win for Oklahoma City, and very similar to what Edmonton was facing last night.
Hayes, I wanted to wait to ask you this question. Did you have flashbacks last night to Game 5?
Game 5 of the Leafs-Panthers series?
Yeah.
In the way that it broke open and it was 3-0 Panthers?
Yeah, and then like, because I'm watching that and I'm thinking when the comeback happens, because in Game 5 it was like the game was over. Like, they just kind of like stopped. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking to last night, obviously it's the first period, there's a break, but then the second period they just come back and the game's tied and then they're ahead.
Well, you know, the breakdown of the Leafs, I don't even remember Game 5 compared to Game 6 or Game 7. I remember Game 7, Domi scoring to make it 3-1 and seemingly thinking,
there was a little bit of life.
Something could happen here. And that's how I felt when Nugent Hopkins scored, only Domi had done that in the third. Nuge did it, you know, early in the second period. But
or even Game 7, I guess, if you want to use Game 7.
I guess the difference is that the Oilers just aren't wired the way the Leafs are. You know, the Leafs just, once they were down 3-0, they're like, we got no fight. We're not doing this. It's over. And that's the difference between a team that has it, quote unquote, and a team that doesn't. And the Leafs don't. You know, and that's just the truth. That the Oilers, they didn't quit. They were down 3-0. They could have put their feet up. They had a goalie change. They're getting smoked. The building's going crazy. They could have got to that first intermission and just, woe is me, head down, we're in trouble. Well, we were down 3-0 last year. It's 3-1. We're still in it. And they didn't do that. And even when Reinhart scores, do you know how deflating that could have been for Edmonton last night?
Yeah.
Like, Wallman scores. He's going nuts. They're in the driver's seat, and Reinhart scores with 16 seconds left or whatever it was. And that could have been so deflating, so easy for Edmonton to get to the intermission thinking this just isn't, we can't do it. Like, we can't beat these guys. There's nothing we can do that's going to stop us from going home down 3-1, but that's not how they're wired. And I have a great appreciation for them. And like I said last hour, they're not champions yet, but they have that pedigree. Like, they play like it. They fight like it. And I got a great appreciation for what Edmonton did last night, because it would have been easy to quit, and they didn't quit.
Yeah.
And that's a big difference. And the Leafs aren't alone. Carolina quit. Tampa quit. Like, other teams just said, we don't have it. We can't beat these guys. They're too good. Edmonton doesn't see it that way.
Well, and you know what? They had some contributions, too. Like, sounds like Corey Perry said, stood up after the first period and said some words like, Draisaitl talked about it last night. Like, he's a quiet guy, Perry, and just kind of does his thing. But, he said he had some words of wisdom for the guys, like, hey, let's get our heads out of our rears type of thing.
He doesn't want to lose his 5th cup in a row and 5th in his last 6 years.
True.
I mean, Perry is probably as desperate as anyone to win.
Agreed.
Here's Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Were you in the building last night, Johnny?
I was, and I was sitting there, and you know what it's like, guys, right? At the end of a game, we're not really invested in who wins or loses, but all you're thinking is, as long as it doesn't go to overtime, and you're like, we're all, we're wired up, we're ready to go on air, and of course, with 20 seconds left, Sam Reinhart dribbles one, and you're like, oh my God, here we go again. 3 of the 4 games going overtime and deep overtimes, Hayes. So I was there. It's been like, it's funny because the series has been incredible, right? 3 overtime games, and yet it doesn't feel like it's been that close. It's got a weird feeling when you're there, because largely Edmonton has been trailing most of the games, and Florida seems to be better than Edmonton. But there we are, 2-2. And at this point, I haven't checked the betting lines, but Edmonton would probably be the favorite to win the Stanley Cup now, wouldn't they not? With 2 or 3 at home, given what they did last night. Forget about how they got there. Mm-hmm. That's 2 out of 3. When you're at home for 2 of them, you would be the favorite.
Well, and Calvin Pickard's your goaltender. Like, whoever saw that coming? That you're favored at home to win the Stanley Cup, and Calvin Pickard is your guy. And the updated odds are Edmonton -115, Florida -104. It's still pretty close to a pick'em on FanDuel, which is, I think, reasonable. I mean, I don't know who's going to win. I really don't. And I think that's what makes it so compelling.
Yeah, and more than that, Hayes, we're there every day. And I usually have a pretty good sense of what's going to happen. Like, I think that's what our job is, like, kind of be able to have an idea of what the games will be played like. And this one, you don't. You don't have a great sense of how it's going to go game by game, period by period. So, it's fascinating. It feels like Edmonton has more in them, and yet they're still there at 2-2. But Noodles, like this Cal Pickard, from all reports, guys love this guy. Like, he's just a perfect backup, good dude. They laugh at, like, body made by Funyuns, like, just like not a prototypical new age athlete. And yet he goes in there and, like, he doesn't look like he's particularly flexible. He doesn't look like he's Bobrovsky dynamic, but he was really good in the game last night, made several huge saves, including that glove save off the crossbar from Sam Bennett in overtime. And the Oilers have won 14 games in the playoffs. Calvin Pickard is 7-0. He's won half their games. He's not lost yet. So, I mean, I'm assuming he's going to play tomorrow night as well. But, Calvin Pickard goes on a run here and wins 2 more. And it's like 9-0 in the playoffs. It would be one of the most unlikely stories of all time for a goaltender to lead their team to a Stanley Cup.
It would be 100%. And then one thing we were talking about in the last hour, Johnny, like, I didn't think it was Stuart Skinner's fault. I mean, the high danger chances were the high danger chances in the first period were 13-1 for Florida. But then, the ice tilted in the second period. The one thing that Pickard does very well is he moves side to side very well. He can actually, like, push across and very fluent, where Skinner is a little bit more robotic and gets opened up, and it looks like it's a lot of work for him to move side to side. And Pickard made a couple really good side to side saves yesterday. And the other one was the Lundell breakaway. Like, they only had 3 high danger chances in the second period, but it was a timely save. That's the biggest the thing that I've noticed with Pickard is he makes a timely save when the team needs it, and they're feeding off of it. And obviously, he even said in his media afterwards, he goes, the team really knuckled down for him, where it was a lot looser in the first period. But you're right. They love him, and he's a reckless goaltender in there, which is a little bit maybe hard on Florida as far as a predictability standpoint. But he just goes for it. He's aggressive. He's side to side, and it is like an unmade bed, but he gets it done.
It works, man. It works.
It works. And it's also one thing, he's better than Skinner at playing the puck. And I think we saw this with Toronto. The difference between Stolarz and Wall with that forecheck. If you can help yourself just a little bit because you can play it better, it can have a slight neutralizing effect on Florida's forecheck, because when that forecheck gets going, as good as Edmonton is, it eats Edmonton up. Like, Edmonton just they just can't get the puck out of the road. They can't make 20-foot passes under that pressure. So any help there is also more than welcomed.
If they win, who gets the cup first, Skinner or Pickard?
Oh, my. You know what? It would be Skinner, because Pickard wouldn't take it first. And I mean that sincerely.
Right.
Like, that's the kind of guy he is. Even yesterday, in this glorious moment for him, huge overtime win, he's the hero in relief. The first thing he said, Noodles alluded to it on the panel or on the podium. Listen, if Stu was in net for the second and third period, he would have had the same result. It wasn't me. It wasn't him. It was our team played better. I honestly, I don't even think Skinner would take it before, or Pickard would take it before Skinner, because, out of respect for his partner.
Okay. I kind of want to see that. That would be that kind of stuff intrigues me.
Yeah, of course it does. Of course it does.
Like, if Skinner reaches out and some guy blows past him, like, where's Pick? Where's Picky? We need Pickard up here. Just I kind of want to see that. I think people in Edmonton would be willing to do that too.
It'd be like when Tyrese Hellebuyck thought he was getting MVP of the Eastern Conference Final.
Right.
He's on his way to the podium. He's like,
Pascal, good job, Siakam. I thought you'd win it too. I love your game.
So happy for you.
Totally happy. So happy for Pascal. Well,
and
then
going to rush in the court and smoke Siakam.
No kidding. And we'll see. Maybe he gets the NBA Final MVP, which I think would probably go to Haliburton if this continues. What about on the flip side, where Florida choked last night? Like, they're up 3-0 after one. They got a chance to take a stranglehold on that series, and it didn't happen. Like, what's the viewpoint from the Florida side of things on what got away from them last night?
Yeah, I mean, because it took so long for it to happen, it didn't feel like a sudden collapse. It was just more methodical, and they just sort of stopped playing in the second period. But you're right, Hayes. It was so lopsided in the first. We were saying, okay, game over, series over. Like, that's it. They're going up 3-1. They're going to win another cup. That's how it's going to go. And Bobrovsky led in that short side goal by Nurse. That was not a good goal. The second goal kind of got Edmonton back within one. And then, Florida just didn't play as well. They weren't as quick, weren't as aggressive, weren't as engaged in the forecheck. They got passive, which is sort of human nature. But what you would have thought was that Florida's experience, third cup final in a row, coming off of last year where they had 3 cracks at closing out big moments to win the Stanley Cup, and they didn't really play their best, they would be well served for having gone through that. And yet, in a pivotal moment where they could have taken a stranglehold in the series, they did not play anywhere remotely like their best hockey. So, it wasn't great. Now, I still think Florida has this air of confidence, because in this series, Hayes, Florida has shown that their good game works well against Edmonton. Like, when they play their game, they're the ones in control. And Edmonton, despite it being 2-2 and Draisaitl scoring these overtime goal after overtime goal, Edmonton hasn't really shown for long stretches that their good game can control the series. And that's why, even heading back to Edmonton, it's basically a pick 'em, because the game seems to be on the racket, the club, the skates of Florida more than it is. Like, if Florida plays well, they'll win. If they don't, then Edmonton has a chance. That's sort of the vibe around the series.
Mike, to bring it back to Edmonton, I'm curious how you think Draisaitl compares as like a sidekick to Malkin back in the day with Crosby. Like, is he better? Is he going to be better? Are we underselling? Am I underselling Malkin? Like, it feels like a similar dynamic to me.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm thinking, it feels like Draisaitl will probably be more accomplished as far as individual awards.
Mm-hmm.
than Malkin will have been in his career, right? More Rockets, and he won a Hart, and he won, Art Ross, whatever it might be. He probably will win a Conn Smythe here if Edmonton wins. But Malkin was incredible. No, I think it's a pretty fair comparison. I don't know if anyone's better or worse era-wise, but McDavid and Crosby, the face of the teams, the face of the franchise, take all the attention, take a lot of the heat, and then Malkin was could just drift in alleging he didn't speak English well and just avoid the media. Draisaitl kind of gets a little surly sometimes and very direct in a very German fashion that, he doesn't handle things the same way McDavid does, the same way Malkin didn't handle the same way Crosby does. No, it's a good comparison. And I think it's part of the reason why Malkin was as good as he was. And part of the reason Draisaitl is as good as he is that they don't have to deal with that stuff. And they don't want to deal with that stuff. This isn't like a jealousy thing, like I'm upset that I don't get all the attention. They don't want the attention that the main guy, that Batman, has to carry, and it frees them up to just do their thing. Yeah, it's a pretty good comparison. That's pretty similar.
With Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst. So what do you make of Connor Hellebuyck? Of course, winning the Vezina, everyone knew that was coming, but he also solidified the Hart Trophy that was announced last night.
I'm on record as not really liking to vote for goalies for the Hart because by the nature of the position, the Vezina could essentially be the Hart every single season. But I think this year I don't have a vote for this. If I did, I think I would have put Hellebuyck first because his numbers, when you're first in wins, first in goals against, second in saves, first in shutouts, and you play 60-something games for the team that is the best team in the league, and your backup goes like months without winning a game. So it's not like anyone could play there. Like poor Eric Comrie didn't win for 2+ months, I think, in November, December. So I put all that together and say, okay, that's obviously a historically great year. And then who's he going up against? Yes, Kucherov, incredible. Yes, Draisaitl, incredible. But based on the performance we've seen the last few years, nobody got 60 goals. Nobody had 140-something points. And it was the right year for a dominant goalie performance, historically good dominant goalie performance, to go up against excellent but not historical skater performances. And I think you put all that together, and I think it's, like a Carey Price, like a Dominic Hasek, we'll leave the Jose Theodore one out of there. It's that kind of year that made sense that he would get it this season.
See, I voted Johnny, and I had Hellebuyck at 1. I would have had Draisaitl at 1 if he wasn't injured near he missed, I think, 9 or 10 games. So there was a pocket there where I thought that kind of took him out of it, even though he was brilliant this season and stuff. I would have had, I thought I had Draisaitl at 1, but I ended up going Hellebuyck for just his body of work the whole season. You look at how Winnipeg was great. Yes, Winnipeg played very well in front of him. They work hand in hand. And I thought Hellebuyck, what you laid out, statistically what he did, the amount of games, he just played every night. He played every night. It didn't matter. Analytics, you got to start the backup here. He'd play back-to-back sometimes. It's just that's how good he was. So it was unique. I didn't have Nico Hischier in there. I don't know if you
Someone had him 5th on their ballot. Nick Suzuki won.
Suzuki was first by someone?
On someone's ballot, yes. Yep.
And the thing is, so part of me, I want the mob mentality. Who is that person? I want to hear from them. I want an explanation. I want, put them up there on the public trial and tell me why you did that. But valuable is such an interpretive word. If you want to take it literally, somebody might say, well, Suzuki is more valuable to Montreal than Draisaitl is to Edmonton because of McDavid. You could try to spin it any which way. I thought Ilya Mikheyev picked up a Selke vote. I'm like, what? Ilya Mikheyev? What are we talking about here? But yes, Suzuki first. I mean, even if you wanted to be bold and say, okay, I'll give him a top 5, but first, that is ambitious. As good as he is, that's still ambitious.
Yeah, that is pushing it for sure. And now, if you're Draisaitl, to put a bow on this, now if they win a Stanley Cup, it's all good. That's all he wants, and he's going to be the highest paid. Well, he may not be. Maybe Mitch Marner will be the highest paid player in the league next year. But he's second in Hart, and he may be second in the Conn Smythe. You know, like he is that close, or was that close. Now that the Hart Trophy's in, it's over. But that close to completing one of the all-time great seasons in terms of hardware. You know, how many guys in league history have won the Hart, the Conn Smythe, and obviously the Stanley Cup? I can't imagine there's a lot. I'm sure Gretzky did it multiple times. Lemieux may have done it.
Lemieux,
but not a lot of guys.
But not many.
And he was that close to possibly doing that. And, I mean, it just speaks to how great of a player he is. And they're lucky to have him. They're lucky to have McDavid. And, you know,
you wonder, Hayes.
Go ahead.
Like, what? I have no idea. I think for those guys, like, they want at least one. Like, they want to be recognized. I got a Hart. I got a Rocket. I got a Lindsay. I got a Conn Smythe, and, of course, as many cups as possible.
Right.
But I wonder if Leon Draisaitl is legitimately – like, I would be picked. I'm still kind of ticked I wasn't a finalist for Rookie of the Year 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So, like, everyone's wired differently, but, like, I wonder if he cares. Like, I don't care if I get, you know, another Hart. It'd be nice, but, like, first or second, I wonder if he loses sleep over it. I have no idea.
I would.
I have no idea.
I'd want it. I'd want it because that, yeah, like the. Well, everyone's going to make money. Everyone knows he's a great player, you know. But the Hart, like that puts you in a category for the rest of time, man. Like that's the kind of stuff when you grab it and you have it, they can never take that away from you. And it just all of a sudden, you know, he's already playing himself into all-time great chats and rankings and all that. That's how great he is. But you know, again, you shrink the amount of players that have ever done it. You win multiple Hart trophies. Very few players have ever done that. Very few.
Yeah.
And you know that, like, of the modern players, I believe it would only be McDavid, Sid, and Ovechkin. I think because Kucherov's only won it once, and McKinnon has only won it once, and Draisaitl's won it once. Matthews won it once. Anyway, I want to get to this Marner stuff where Dregs was on with us yesterday, and he said he believes, you know, there are teams that could offer him more than $14 million. I've seen other reporters indicate that that's possible. Like, in line with the Draisaitl chat. Now, Leon signed his last year, but he's making $14 million a year. Like, how could any GM possibly
I love that you brought this up. I can't wait to talk about it.
How could you ever go to your owner and say, I'm going to pay a guy more than Draisaitl?
Hey,
like, how? How can you do that?
Mike, school him. Tell him
Go ahead,
what's going on.
School me on how anyone on earth could say that makes sense to pay
What's
the
cap next year?
22nd best player in the league.
What's the cap next year?
What does that have to do with anything?
That's all it has to do with it.
Draisaitl's deal has a
percentage of the cap.
Percentage of the cap.
I get it, but Draisaitl's deal has not kicked in yet, guys. He didn't sign it 4 years ago.
It was signed last year.
So what? He knew the cap was going up.
We didn't know the cap was going up at this
much. Yes, he did. You're telling me the agents didn't know? Stop it.
You know what? If we're going to be honest, the agents knew. And I talked to players, I talked to agents, and they were not officially, but they were forewarned that this was going to happen. But Hayes, here it is, okay? We're going to take you back to grade 10 economics. I know you love that course. You and O in the locker, chilling with the textbook. Supply and demand, right? The reason why you have to pay Marner more than Draisaitl is not because he's better. It's because there's a scarcity of product. You can't get Marner. If Draisaitl was available to the open market, he would get more than Marner on the open market. He never got to it. So a reason why Marner could get more than Draisaitl, yes, it's percentage of the cap. Yes, Jonas, you're right. And when it was signed, and we can make that argument. But no one's going to go and say he's better than Leon Draisaitl.
No, of course not. That's not the point anyone's making.
But the point is, you can get Marner for nothing if you're willing to pay him. You couldn't get Draisaitl, and that alone will be enough. Supply and demand, limited supply, monstrous demand, it will drive prices up. That's just how it's going to go. It's like a private sale of a house versus a public auction. It's just how it goes. And when on the open market forces will dictate the price, and that market force is going to drive his up.
Yeah,
Jonas,
I understand.
you're on board with that too, right?
It's logical. Like, it makes
No,
sense.
It's not logical. That's
it
the
totally
point.
is.
No,
Mike's right. Like, he's the top free agent by a mile.
So
the cap is going up.
Do
the cap hit percentage. Like, it's not the same.
That's not what I'm talking about. I understand supply and demand, but you also are who you are. As
also,
a player.
Draisaitl could have gone for more money. Like, it's not like he took the maximum dollar.
Well, he did. He got the highest paid. He's the highest paid guy in the league.
Yes, but he's worth more.
According to you, of course.
Here's my personal spin on it, Hayes, okay, in a nutshell, okay, to my very personal life. I left school the same year as Brendan Morrison. Brendan Morrison won 2 Hobie Bakers and 2 national championships, a better player than me. He had to sign in Jersey. He got $150,000 to sign. I got to sign anywhere I wanted. I got $1 million. Does that make me a better player? No. It's just the nature of the business when you are a free asset, which Mitch Marner has played himself into being, and that's why he's going to get more. It's like Jonas is kind of right, but not entirely. Hayes, the point you're making about, like, nobody can ever go to their GM and say, we're going to pay this guy Draisaitl.
It's not about Marner. I'm not saying don't go get whatever you can get. That's not my point. What I'm saying is like Marner, what is he, the 22nd best player in the league, let's say. That's arbitrary. Sure. Maybe you'd have him 15th. Maybe someone have him 28th. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
Draisaitl is the second best player in the game. Maybe you have him third. Maybe you have him fifth. But he's in the top 5.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying, is that the idea that you go to your owner and say, I am going to give a right winger with the playoff performances that he has the most money anyone's ever been given in the league. It's crazy.
That's how sports work. It always happens.
Name someone that got more than LeBron.
This happened. It happened in the NBA like 2 years ago. Jaylen Brown was the richest, got the biggest contract.
That's different. Jaylen Brown was with Boston, and the NBA CBA is basically, if you hit certain check marks, there's not even really a negotiation. Yes. But not as a free agent.
Okay, answer me this. Let's say Draisaitl didn't sign the extension. He was going to become a free agent right now. What would he get?
18.
Okay, so
he wouldn't go up $4 million.
15, 16, like he chose to sign early. Like
I understand all of this. Again, you guys
aren't
actually talking about what I'm talking about.
I'm actually listen. No, I want to interject here for a second because I understand exactly what you're saying, Johnny and Jonas. But what Brian is saying is the optics of this is awful. And how do you do? Awful's the wrong word.
But someone is eventually going to pass Draisaitl, Noodles. Like it's going to happen.
Connor McDavid, Jonas. That's my point.
Well, he's going to pass Marner. He's going to pass Marner too. So what's the difference?
Again, Marner can get whatever he wants. I'm not trying to withhold him from getting money.
You're saying this is not about Marner. This is just about Draisaitl.
I'm saying it's weird that the league may have the highest paid player be like the 22nd best player in the league, who's never won anything, and like that. That to me optically is very strange. That's what I'm saying.
How much time has to elapse before you're comfortable with the idea that the rising cap is going to, like, players who are not as good are going to get paid more than players who are better who have signed a long-term deal? Is it 1 year? 2 years? How long is it going to be before you're going to be okay with it?
Good point, and I don't have an answer for you, but you're right. I mean, it's going up, and everyone's floating up, and all. And again, I'm not saying Mitch shouldn't, like, for me, should get basically what Rantanen got. Like, Rantanen also just signed for 12. His agent knew. The Stars knew. How do you justify Rantanen getting 12 but Mitch getting 14.25?
He's going to the free market.
I get it, but Rantanen he could have as well, and he decided. All right.
I like this.
Yes.
But it's not. It was the free market, Jonas. Because
it wasn't.
He could have No, it was, because he could have said, I'm not signing with you. And Dallas was like, well, we really want you. And he's like, all right, well, then let's work this out. Pay me what I want. They said 12, and he took it. He could have stayed in Carolina and played it out. He didn't. And, again, that was like a month ago, a guy who's on the same wavelength, in fact, better, certainly in the playoffs, signed for 12. And Mitch is going to get $2.25 million more per year, and a team's going to say, I can justify that? That's crazy. It's crazy behavior. I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm not predicting it won't happen. I'm just saying if and when it does, it's absurd.
Well, let me ask you guys this.
We've talked about
I know the cap implications.
Yeah.
Yes. And we've also known the scar tissue for Rantanen getting bounced around. He wanted the security of a deal. He didn't want to take it to open market. Go ahead, Noodles.
Well, I was just going to say, is there a contending team that is going to be able to fit him in? That would be or is it going to be the Utahs, the Chicago?
Do you think Vegas will pay him 14.25?
I don't think he's going to get 14 in Vegas.
They will pay him net tax $13 million contract. A Toronto 14 is a Vegas 10.5. They'll give him that.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. So, but the point being is his cap hit will be 10.5. It won't be 14. That's the difference, right? Like that's so.
If he goes backwards on 10.9, that will be hilarious.
But the point, like my point, Johnny, is he's not going to be walking around. So the PA doesn't list it with an asterisk saying he's in a tax-free state, so he's only
take home pay. They do cap.
Right, exactly. They do. So my point is if he is going to get a number north of 14, is it going to be on a contending team? That would be my question.
Anaheim, Utah, Montreal, Chicago, Detroit, all would be willing. Toronto would not do 14, but something close to it. Toronto might be the best team that he'd get the most money from, really, to be honest.
Well, 8 years. Yeah.
And get that 8th year as well. But I don't know what you think of Anaheim as a team, but they would certainly be up and running. I don't. Utah is not a contender, but they're not garbage. And maybe even Carolina. Now, Carolina won't give him 14. They will not. But they're a good team, and they would give him a contract that would make him one of the highest-paid players in the league. He might get a good team.
Yeah. I mean, and there might be teams moving money around or whatever also, right? You can free up stuff. And it's kind of difficult to do this because it's been 7 years. But if you can recall when Tavares signed here, who do you think is a higher-profile free agent? Mitch Marner, where he is today, or John Tavares, where he was 7 years ago?
I mean, so you said higher profile. It's Mitch because he's coming from Toronto versus John Tavares, who may have been a better player, although he wasn't. John Tavares he never had.
He was a Hart Trophy finalist twice.
He was, the one time he tied it with Jamie Benn that weird year with 89 points. But Mitch is probably slightly higher. I mean, the point totals are up. The exposure in Toronto is up. The hype around his contract and his career is much greater than what John Tavares was when he was leaving the island. So, as far as profile, I would say Mitch. As far as player, that's a more in-depth conversation.
Okay. Well, we'll have that over the next 2 weeks. We'll have it in-depth.
I'm not going anywhere. Yeah,
we're around. We're going to be around. All right, Johnny. Enjoy your travel. We'll do it again soon.
All right. I'm back out to Edmonton. I mean, quick layover in Toronto, back out to Edmonton tonight. Noodles, aren't you supposed to be out in Edmonton this week or no? Are you out there?
Here.
He's out there right now.
Here.
Oh, you're there already? Oh,
Enjoying
you
myself.
jump on
Yes,
things.
exactly.
You're out there. I'm in Toronto. We're all backwards.
There you go.
No,
all right. Well,
all
you
right.
guys can meet up tomorrow night at the rink.
We'll visit
Quick
tomorrow.
turnaround, man. Quick turnaround
Nice.
for Game 5.
Thank
Crazy.
goodness. This series needs to
just
pace
get
to it
going.
anyways.
Exactly.
Let's get to it.
Just get back on the ice and start
Exactly.
playing again. I totally agree.
Yeah.
All right, Johnny.
Yeah.
We'll do it again soon.
Hi, fellas.
There he is.
All right.
Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Yeah, supply and demand. I don't know what we just we really confirmed or denied there. But.
What if you were the owner and your GM came to you and said, "Well, we want to pay this guy 13.9." You wouldn't raise any stink? Like you'd just be like, "All right."
I don't know. I mean, the numbers
Whatever.
obviously are arbitrary. I get it that technically then he wouldn't be the highest. Again, I'm not saying this as an attack on Mitch Marner or that Marner shouldn't go out there and get whatever he can get. Go ahead.
Right.
Like once you leave the Leafs, go ahead. Go be the highest paid player. I'm saying that, in my opinion, if I were ranking the league, he'd be 20th, 21st, 22nd. I get he's a free agent. I understand that. So other teams are competing, and that's incredible leverage. And he's going to make a lot of money. And to your point, is there a difference between 13 and 14? Probably not. But, there's just the idea, the symbolism of leaping ahead of Leon Draisaitl. To me, is something I would have a difficult time justifying. Like if I was an owner and a GM came to me, I'd say, I get he's very good, but how are we building a team if you're paying this guy more than the best players in the league?
Yeah.
Seems relevant
It's
to the conversation.
That's why I kept saying it's the optics of it. If you're literally negotiating right now and you're watching Draisaitl break records in the NHL finals, for overtime goals and doing stuff like that, and you're like, I get from an optics standpoint the owner going, tell me why, but what you're saying for your organization is we're getting a star player and all it's costing is money. It's not costing us draft picks. It's not costing us.
And that's what someone's going to do. I'm not predicting he won't. I'm not convinced he will. And he may not want it. Like it may be from a team he's not interested in. Like Mitch is also going to make a determination on where he wants to play, which is important. Right. But I'm talking about it from a lens of if I'm an owner, if I'm in the league. I'd be curious to find that out. Like when the last time a guy, of his status, great player, would be the highest paid player in the league. I don't know. I don't know if there were examples of that, certainly through the cap era anyway. Like Panarin signed a big deal at one point when he went to New York.
That wasn't the highest, though. But
he wasn't the highest paid player in the league.
I think it was like the third highest.
But he was 11.6 or something. Like I think McDavid was making 12.5 at that point or something, and Matthews signed for the same number. Ovi was up there. But I guess that's somewhat of an equivalent. Like Panarin and Marner, very similar. Very similar, same position, really good players. All right, we've got, what do we have? Steve Phillips coming up in half an hour.
Yeah.
Steve Phillips, CJ Miles, we're tracking the U.S. Open. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
Tomorrow on TSN 1050, your Toronto Argos take on the Calgary Stampeders for their 2025 home opener at BMO Field. Coverage starts at 3:30 p.m. Hear it all on TSN 1050. The Argos live here. Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Steve Phillips coming up in about 25 minutes. Mail It In Friday brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. This playoff season, Boston Pizza is planning the parade and has a new all-star playoffs menu for you to enjoy. For pizza, pints, and puck drops, visit your local Boston Pizza today. U.S. Open Day 2 continuing. Sammy Burns is, last time I checked, in the lead at 300. He's in the clubhouse. So this course is beating guys up, man. It is gnarly out there. It's fun to watch. Like, it humanizes everybody.
The scores are awful. I mean, didn't they say though it was probably going to be -4 would get it done type of thing, 4 under?
Possibly, yeah. And I'm not even sure that'll get it done because it's probably just going to get more and more tough, right? Like if the leaders after day 2 are 3 under, it may be 1 under, 2 under, something like that, and that kind of brings everyone back into the play, into the field, including Scheffler. Although McIlroy's out there and he's still playing, but I think he's 8 or 9 over. He's done. Like McIlroy, he is a fascinating case study because it felt like he was on a rocket ship to PGA Tour Player of the Year, one of the all-time great seasons. And now the second half of the year, the guy, he can't play. Like he can't score, he can't do anything.
And he's chippy too. Like that's the biggest thing. Like he's not...
and that has nothing to do with like voting or anything. Well, I guess it can. You know, guys like Jonas don't like the answers that players are giving them.
Hayes, I got to tell you something. I did some research during the break after our conversation that I think fuels your case. I still don't think you're right, but I still think you're wrong just based on logic.
Go ahead. You continue.
These are the number 1 cap hit in the league for the last however many years. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So starting in 14-15, Ovechkin next year, Kane and Taves. Kane and Taves, McDavid, McKinnon, Matthews, and then Draisaitl.
Draisaitl next year, but
theoretically
could be Mitch Marner.
Yeah.
See, that exactly fuels his argument.
Yes.
Because all of those players have won hearts. All of those players have been well decorated. All of that type of stuff. And again, Mitch Marner, fantastic player, probably 20th in the again a really good, but he doesn't fall into that category of all the players that you just threw out.
He's not in that category. And also, another thing with the supply and demand, which is valid. Again, a lot of other teams, everyone can bid for this guy. But that falls flat when it gets to a point where you realize there has to be a limit on that. Like supply and demand. In other words, if let's say Chicago's like, we're offering them 15 and Anaheim's got to go back to their owner and say, well, 16 it is because of supply and demand. Like, where do you stop with your supply and demand stance? Like, when does it get so ridiculous that it's ridiculous?
I would have a counter to that.
But answer that question. Like, if you think it's totally cool that he gets 14.25 because of supply and demand, then why not 15.5? 17, like, because if evaluating him as a player is clearly irrelevant, it's simply about desperation and because he's a free agent, that's the whole argument, then why stop at 14.1 million or whatever it is?
But part of my counter would be star players in the NHL haven't taken enough of the pie, honestly. Like,
he certainly has.
Even going back to McDavid, that 8-year contract, like, he could have taken more. Wasn't there a report that he was going to take more? And even that number was probably too low for his value. And the other thing, like with all those guys, like the cap wasn't going up like it's going to go up.
Right.
So that's a factor.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, it's going up the next 3 years, and then beyond that, we'll see with expansion and what else they do. And I think you're probably right, yet that's the name of the game. When you're dealing with a salary cap and a hard cap, if players, if you want other players on your team, because that's another thing, and we're speaking completely hypothetically here. But if let's say Marner gets $14 million and goes to a bad team, isn't he immediately starting another trend of just not being able to fill out a roster? Where like that was an issue here. You'd think you'd learn from that mistake if you want to win. That you can't have your superstars getting overpaid. You can't have them taking every penny they can possibly get. Because it just doesn't, you can't win like that.
I wonder if you went back and asked all of them, do you think they would all do the same thing again?
That's a great question.
Probably, right?
Probably,
because it's money?
Because
probably.
It's up to the manager It's not. You take
Yeah.
as much money as you can get. It's up to the manager to build the team around that. They shouldn't go. Oh, I got to take less because somebody else is going to. Because what happens if they overpay for somebody else?
Yeah.
And that player doesn't. I think also what hurt the Leafs, and people don't talk about it enough, is the cap.
Yes.
Is COVID, the cap flattened out, right? We expected the cap to be a lot higher sooner. Now we're starting to see it grow. So for how many years you want to point out, maybe 2, 3, 4 years, the cap was pretty flat. Mm-hmm. And you had the Leafs right with these guys with these contracts eating up a huge chunk of it. If the cap was growing by $3 or $4 million a year, it wouldn't be as so glaring. Mm-hmm. It was in our faces. Like the cap had gone up, it felt like $100 every year. You're like, God, they're pressed up against it again. Where if it grows 5 or 6 million a year, it's going to be. It's supposed to be again.
Buts,
yeah.
And, obviously, there's a lot of different things that would have been great for the Leafs that also probably would have benefited every other team in the league. But I don't know. I'm very curious to see what Marner decides. Like, very curious on the landing spot, where he goes, where he wants to play, what the money looks like, what the term looks like. Like Dreg said yesterday, someone told him or suggested to him maybe it'll be a shorter term deal. Like maybe Marner wants what Matthews got, 4 years at whatever amount, and then reset when you're 31 or 32. That wouldn't shock me.
Well, and I theorized this, I think, in something I wrote in the spring. Like, I don't think anyone would do this, but he could do it where you take a 2-year deal, and then a couple years from now the cap will be at $113 million or something, or 104 or whatever it is, and then you take your 8-year deal.
Maybe, but then again, maybe the world. Who knows what happens in the world, and
the world's
miss
just gone.
That opportunity. I mean, I would think you grab your long-term deal, big money, set up shop somewhere, and start the second chapter of your career. Like if I'm Marner, that's what I'd be thinking.
If he came to you, Hayes, and he said, "Where should I go?" What would you say?
I think the Western Conference makes sense. Like if this is a decision, like I got to get out of Toronto, which would be totally understandable. Mm-hmm. He put in 9 years. It didn't work out. It worked out in many ways, and in other ways it didn't. And if it's just exhausting and too much for a local guy and all, and I could totally understand all that, then if I'm him, I'm probably getting as far away as I can. I'm looking at L.A., I'm looking at Anaheim, I'm looking at Vegas. Utah would be compelling just because they, you probably go right in there and you're the face of hockey in a state immediately. Might be scary because you don't know enough about it, and I don't personally. I don't know enough about Utah, but they're a new team, new owner. Clayton Keller, I guess, he's probably the man there right now. But if Marner were to step in there, it's like it's your team. You're the man. You're the guy. They don't know a lot about hockey down there. They're probably going to give you a pretty long leash to kind of build yourself up and build that team up. That's what would make sense to me. Anaheim, L.A., Utah, Vegas, one of those teams. Come through Toronto once a year, come back home in the summer, move on with your life.
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and Utah's building that their program up too. Like if you look at it, I don't know if you look at their Instagram even today, they've busted their rink out. It's like day 46 of the renovation. They're making the rink actually like hockey friendly because there was some obstructed seats, 4,000 obstructed seats last year. Like that owner, Ryan Smith, multi-billionaire, he's putting money into that team. Like he wants them to take the next step.
Yeah.
I could see them in the mix for a guy like Mitch.
For sure.
And why wouldn't you?
Possibly making sense. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Steve Phillips, CJ Miles still to come. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.
TSN takes pole position for your NASCAR coverage.
Unbelievable! Back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Steve Phillips, CJ Miles, Dear Hazy B coming up in the next hour. Our best bets as well. We're tracking the U.S. Open and coverage of the U.S. Open on OverDrive, brought to you by Subaru. It looks like the projected cut line probably 6 over, which is wild for any golf tournament. But I guess, somewhat expected when it comes to the U.S. Open. But a lot of Canadians inside that. There's 4 Canadians in the field. They're all, 6 over or better. So it feels like they're all going to make the weekend. That's certainly the hope. Scotty Scheffler, 4 over through 2 rounds, which, he's T25. He's in the mix, but not what I expected. I thought he would be in the lead or in the hunt, certainly, and that is not the case right now. Coverage of the U.S. Open on OverDrive brought to you by Subaru. Head to your local Subaru dealer for lease rates from 1.99% for 24 months on select models. See dealer for details. All right, Jays in Philly tonight. We'll come back and tee that up. Game 4 of the NBA Finals. C.J. Miles will join us to help us tee that up. So we'll get to that coming up into the next hour. And I'm seeing online, I think it was Wolstad tweeting out 6 years ago tonight, the Raptors won the NBA championship, which is crazy because, the timelines have shifted with these new TV deals. That was Game 6, and Game 4 is going tonight in the NBA Finals. So obviously it started a bit earlier, but 6 years ago tonight, where were you 6 years ago tonight when the Raptors went into Oracle, the old building, and shut the lights out? The last game ever played at that building as well. That was before COVID and everything, man. Crazy.
Wasn't it in was it game 6, though? What?
Well, Raptors won in game 6 on the road.
Yes, game 6. Yeah, that's what I was trying to remember if it was game 6 or game 7.
No, game 6 on the road. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So, C.J. Miles was on that team to start the year, was not on it by the end of it, but we'll catch up with C.J. in the next hour. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
It's Mail It In Friday.
Yeah, hi, it's Bill Lumberg again. Yeah, it isn't a half day or anything like that.
This is OverDrive.
It's not that I'm lazy. It's that I just don't care.
With Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Final hour OverDrive continues. Powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Brian Hayes, Jamie Noodles, McLennan, Jonas Siegel of The Athletic. We got a big hour here. Steve Phillips coming up. Jays, Phillies tonight. Max Scherzer making a rehab start. Just trying to hit 60 to 65 pitches. Pretty wild when you see a guy of that status, like unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the all-time great arms. And he'll be out there in like a goofy Bison's uniform, and there'll be like, 2,500 people in attendance, and he's just going to kind of do his thing. It's just kind of crazy when you see those rehab kind of starts.
Don't you think there would be some diehard Jays fans that would drive down, would want to watch him, and go? I would,
For
if you
sure.
had an opportunity.
Well, and if you live in one of these towns with a minor league team, this is amazing. Yeah. You can say, I saw Scherzer play. In my hometown.
Exactly.
It's a really, really cool story. And he'll go today, and then I believe he's going to probably have one more rehab start, I guess, in 5 days, see how that goes, and then could be activated and back with the team. So we'll catch up with Steve in just a few moments. CJ Miles later in the hour. We got our best bets, Dear Hazy B, this hour. James Duthie, he's got some connection with a photographer where he found O-Dog's locker room pic with the fake books. And then he found a picture of me, a live action shot, which is very rare, dude. This is as rare as it gets. This is Sasquatch in photography terms. A live shot of me playing for the Colts back in the day.
And an outlet pass, too. I love it. An outlet pass.
That's coming around the net. You know that, Noodles. Around the net. It's probably a goalie saying, reverse, and I'm pretending I don't hear him.
I'm saying, man on, move it. And you know what? Looks like an outlet pass right to the winger, and out you go. I like it. It's a little stutter step there, using the net as a screen potentially.
All day, man. Edge work.
Somebody wrote in, though, that is a 7-pound Sherwood that you have.
Wooden stick.
Oh, my God, that's old school. I love
stick, man. Because I remember the overagers had access to the one-piece sticks. They had just come out, the one-piece sticks. And there were 4 players on the team allowed to have them. And then there were a lot of players that were doing the split, doing the shaft and then a wooden blade, which eventually I got to. That would suggest to me that was possibly a training camp picture, because I don't remember using a wooden stick, during the season. But that was probably the stick I brought to camp or whatever, and it was those things were so heavy, so heavy, and kids have no idea. I got a one-piece when we went to the prospect game in Kitchener. They gave us a one-piece stick, and I went out there. I was slinging this thing like Joe Sakic, these one-piece sticks. Now, man, if you have a bad shot with a one-piece stick, just stop playing. It's completely inexcusable. Exactly. It is such a weapon now, the modern technology, and in every sport. It's the same thing with every other sport. Bats and drivers and putters and balls. Everything.
What happened to the paddle bat or whatever? What was it called again that the Yankees were using?
Was it a turbo?
Rudder bat.
The turbo bat?
No, it was, what is it called?
Torpedo bat. That's what it was called. I think
Did they get
banned
rid of
that.
it?
Yeah, I think baseball kind of quietly said you can't do that anymore.
That just went away.
Yeah, it was a big story. You're right. First couple of weeks of the year, the torpedo bat was huge. Because remember, the Yankees were breaking records for hitting home runs the first 10 games of the year.
They had 19 home runs in a weekend. It was something ridiculous, and it was like a boat oar, though. It looked so big, and they were just whacking it out of the park.
And no one else was hitting home runs because that early in the year, it's so cold. It was freezing outside. Anyone playing outdoors in the end of March, no one was hitting for any power except for the Yankees and the torpedo bats. And you're right. I believe the commissioner stepped in and said that's enough. Optically, right? Optics. That's a big part of the conversation today. You got to think about your brand, Jonas. You got to consider things like that.
I'll just take the money.
You would take the money.
Pay this man his money.
Pay the man. Well, listen, Mitch is going to get paid. Yeah. Like, there's no disputing that. And he deserves to get paid a lot of money. He's a great player.
Do the math.
Yeah, do the math. Mitch is going to get paid. I can't wait to see where he goes. I can't wait to see what he gets. I can't wait to see. Do you think he'll issue a statement on his time in Toronto? Do you think he'll do that?
Yes.
I'm not convinced he will.
I think he'll put something on his Instagram.
You think so?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's
Unless
just
he's
no
like
downside to doing that.
There isn't. You're right. And Sheldon Keefe kind of broke the norm and did an unbelievable job.
Yes.
I think it would be in his best interest to do that, but I'm not convinced he will. Like, I'm not convinced Mitch feels like he's leaving because anything other than he's getting screwed over or pushed out or whatever. I don't know. I mean, he may not see it that way.
What if he just posted an emoji with a peace?
That would be amazing.
That would be great. Peace sign and a dollar emoji. You know,
dollar trail.
Something like that. See you later. I'm out.
Yeah.
But and his first time back through town, you're going to be right in the middle of that, Jonas.
Cheer or not?
I think he'll get cheered. I think he will. It's a local guy, great Leaf, 9 years. It didn't work out. You move on. You know, they'll play the montage, and I don't know. I think bygones will be bygones over time. Like I think that's likely what's going to happen. All right, Jason, Philly tonight again. Max Scherzer doing his AAA thing tonight. Here's Steve Phillips, our TSN baseball insider. What do you need to see out of Max tonight, Steve, that would suggest that it actually might happen? We might see him pitch again for the Blue Jays at some point.
Yeah, I think that some length out of him. Obviously, the quality of the stuff, the fastball velocity, the bite on the breaking stuff. But I think it's going to be more the recovery afterwards, because that's been where he's had issues, is that, afterwards it's the fingers that hurt. It's his thumb that causes him problems. So he's been able to get out there and pitch, but in the later part of his outings is where things start to hurt. Things start to bother him. And I think that's where we really need to find out is he going to be okay? And the reality is, even if he is, I don't know that I trust it. And I don't know whether or not it's going to be productive enough and that he'll be able to bounce back from start to start. So I really look at him as just the icing on the cake, that whatever you get, but you can't expect anything. Like, there can be no reasonable expectation out of him. You just have to hope that it's going to be something that you can get, because, how many punches in the gut do you want to get? Because it's not, like for me following him, it's not just this year. This has been an issue that's been ongoing for the last couple of years, that, he'll show you something and then he can't take the ball the next time. And then he doesn't want to throw because the thumb is the indicator for the arm health. And, if the thumb's not right, then his arm's going to hurt. So then he shuts it down. And so I think that it's going to be a very conservative approach from my perspective. And, if he can pitch, great, but I'm not counting on him to do anything.
Steve, have you ever had a player that didn't want to go down and take an assignment like that? I mean, not just disgruntled as like, hey, I don't want to go to the minors, but is it always the common path to recovery to go play in the minors or in AAA before you get back to the majors? Because in other sports, you see guys, when they're rehabbing, they step back into that league. Is it just common practice? Have you ever had anybody that wanted to step right back into the majors?
Oh, for sure. See, players don't want to do it. It's one that they're afraid that somebody's going to get hurt. That sometimes they fear that they won't ever come back. That if I go down there, I might not ever come back to the major leagues. And there've been a few guys where that's happened, where they went on rehab assignment and then they weren't very good and they never did get back. We had a catcher with the Mets back in the day when I was playing, Barry Lyons, not when I was GM, but the players have a choice. They don't have to do it. They have to agree to do it. And so they do have a choice. Now, many of them realize that in order to be successful, they've got to go there. They've got to get themselves back on track again, and so that they can do it for themselves as well as for the team. But there are guys who don't want to do it. And I think that, if they agree, they may agree to limited time down there. Like, I'll make one start, but I'm not going to go down there forever. And I think Scherzer is one of those guys who has earned the ability to say, I'm not going to go down for multiple starts. But for him, they need to know, right? if they have to make a roster move in order to activate him, and then he can't go, and you just lost somebody, to waivers or you DFA them, it's not the right thing for the team. But, Scherzer's, he's a mercenary. He's a hired gun right now. And so I think with guys like that, you kind of have to play the game with him a little bit too.
With Steve Phillips, our TSN baseball insider, Jays Phillies tonight. I remember talking about the hitting coach in Toronto. It seemed like every year. Guillermo Martinez was coming up. Why does he stick around? Should he stick around? He'd been in the organization for like a decade. They moved off him last year. They brought in David Popkins in a transaction that, isn't going to garner a ton of interest. Fans buzz about it a little bit. It's more about the guy leaving than the guy coming in. But obviously Santander signs. That's big news. Scherzer signs. Big news. The Jimenez trade, big news. Chasing different free agents. This one seemingly has worked better than any other move they made last offseason, Steve, because the bats are clicking across the board in every significant statistical category for about the last 5 weeks. The Blue Jays are ranked number one. Like they're doing everything, including hitting with runners in scoring position, which has been a curse word or a curse acronym for the last 2 years in this town. How big of a deal can a hitting coach actually have? Like, how much of it is the players clicking? How much of it is a different philosophy and a different approach? Because it's obviously working right now.
Yeah, it's so many different factors go into this, right? And the hitting coach can't hit for them, but there is a mindset, and hitting is contagious, in both directions. Like if you're struggling and everybody's struggling, it does rub off on everyone. And then when guys get going, it rubs off on everyone too. But, I wrote about it today. I mean, the one thing that nobody wants to hear, like the click word was internal improvement, right? How many times we hear that from Ross Atkins? Well, we're looking for some internal improvement.
Yep.
And it's like, just bring in better hitters. But this turnaround is really about Alejandro Kirk. It's about Addison Barger, and it's about Ernie Clement. I mean, because Vladdy's been okay. He's not been great. Bichette's been pretty good. Springer's had 5 home runs over this last 15 days. That's been a big part of the turnaround. But it's been some of the other complementary players who had been here and have internally improved. And so I think the hitting coach is a part of it. I think it's, it comes down to the players, though. And, so many times the hitting coach can come in and say the same thing that the other hitting coach did, and all of a sudden it clicks. But that's really more about the players than it is about the coach, too. So it matters. I think hitting coaches matter. But I think it comes down to the players getting it done and trying to fulfill their own potential. And, the good news for the Jays, and I'm kind of tired of saying it, is that Vladdy's not really hitting yet at his highest level because at some point soon they're going to need it. They're going to need Santander. But at some point, can he please do it? Like, he's been good, Vladdy, but he's not hitting for any power and driving in runs like he should. I mean, he's getting on and stealing bases right now. He's got 2 stolen bases so far this year. So I do think that there's an improvement there for sure, but I'm not convinced it's going to sustain itself unless the horses get involved in it.
That's what I was going to ask you, Steve. So what is sustainable here, or is the sustainability some of those guys you mentioned cooling off and Vladdy and Bichette and everyone else picking it up? I guess Bichette's been pretty good.
Alejandro Kirk. Alejandro Kirk is hitting .346 with 2 strikes on him. The average major league hitter that is hitting 170 with 2 strikes on them. So Kirk is out of his mind right now. But if everybody is averaging 170, it means that he's doing something that nobody else can really do. And at some point, that's going to fall back to the pack a little bit, right? He can't sustain that. I think that Barger slugging 700 is probably not sustainable. Clement hitting 330 over the last couple of weeks is not sustainable. But, if they can at least be very good and add some length and depth to the lineup, then they can do it. But you need your best hitters to be the best hitters, right? You need the best hitters to be the ones who carry the offense. And that's going to be Bichette, that's going to be Guerrero, and that has to be at some point Santander to be part of that as well. So I think that Santander's absence so far has been a big part of where this team struggled early on. I think that in the long run, the quality of this offense is not going to be based upon Barger, Clement, and Kirk. It's going to be upon Bichette, Guerrero, and Santander.
Yeah, and Santander, they're slow playing, him even returning to the lineup, and Varsho is still on the IL. I mean, those are two guys immediately that are going to play every day and, be pretty high in the order and expected to supply certainly power. I mean, both of them can hit for power. But, you look at the Jays, like it is pretty incredible that they're not getting anything from anyone they acquired last year. And again, Varsho's been hurt the majority of the season. And then you look at the staff, like it's the Bowden Francis topic is a daily conversation here in Toronto, Steve, and I'm sure you're aware of it, and I know you've talked about it.
Yeah.
Because basically when Francis is not on the mound, they're like a 90-win team. And when he is, they're not. And it's a significant issue. I mean, he's given up more home runs than any other arm in baseball. His ERA's bloated. He barely gives them 4 innings when he goes out. I just don't know how sustainable this can be.
Yeah, no, I would have sent him to the minor leagues already. I would send him down and try to get him right. I think you got to rebuild him. And he's, there's something in there, and we saw it last year, but he's trying to miss bats right now. He walked 5 batters his last game. That's a guy nibbling around the corners, not wanting to throw it over the plate and have contact. He's got to get reset, and I don't think you can do that at the major league level. I would send him down. Now, if that's in conjunction with Scherzer in the short term, okay. But, if not, then I know Uriel Rodriguez has been good in the bullpen, but you may have to put him back in the rotation. Now, I thought that it was a lost opportunity that Aaron Savali demanded a trade with Milwaukee when he was taken out of the rotation for their rookie that came up who throws 102 miles per hour. And he said, I'm a starter. I want to get traded. And they traded him to the White Sox. Like what you talk, be careful what you wish for. You want to be traded.
Right.
Okay, we'll trade you to the White Sox. Good luck. Go get him. But he would have been a guy that I think would fit Toronto, especially here in the short term while they're trying to figure out between Scherzer and Bowden Francis. So we'll see, and maybe things will start to shake a little bit as we get closer to July, that there could be some pitching available.
Well, that's it. I mean, this recent run, what they've done is put themselves obviously into the top wildcard spot, but, 4.5 back of the Yankees. The Yankees are in town for, I believe, a 4-game series in a couple of weeks. So you got a lot of swing games still to be played. A lot of baseball left. Trade deadline still a little ways away. We'll see what comes of it. Great stuff, Steve. Appreciate you doing this. We'll do it again soon.
You got it, guys. Have a good weekend. Happy Father's Day as well.
You too. There he is, Steve Phillips, our TSN Baseball insider. Again, Max Scherzer with a rehab start today. Doesn't sound like Santander's that close. Varsho's that close. They remain on the IL, but again, the Jays, they've been playing great. They're 8 games over 500, and they've won 3 in a row here. They're in Philly. It's a tough test. Phillies are a really good team, but the Jays have played a lot of tough teams recently, and they've done very well. So
yeah, they got to keep it going.
Keep it going.
Yep,
keep it rolling. You got a long season still to go, but they're inside 100 games. Inside 100 games left. Game 4 of the NBA Finals tonight. C.J. Miles will join us to tee that up, get his take on some of the other rumors around the NBA. Kevin Durant, where he could end up. Could he be a fit in Toronto? We'll ask C.J. that. Best bet still to come. Dear Hazy B as well. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
Tomorrow on TSN 1050, your Toronto Argos take on the Calgary Stampeders for their 2025 home opener at BMO Field. Coverage starts at 3:30 p.m. Hear it all on TSN 1050. The Argos live here. Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Friday brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar this playoff season. Boston Pizza is planning the parade and has a new All-Star Playoffs menu for you to enjoy. For pizza, pints, and puck drops, visit your local Boston Pizza today. Best bets later in the hour on Game 4 of the NBA Finals. CJ Miles will join us here in a moment. Former Raptor, longtime NBA veteran, get his take on what he sees happening tonight. Feels like, everyone's expecting Oklahoma City to win tonight, tie up the series. Do what Edmonton did last night. Easier said than done, though, man. I've been impressed by this Indiana team.
You're on the bandwagon, it seems like. I jumped on.
Yeah, I'm taking the points. I can tell you that. I don't see Oklahoma City, who has not been good on the road, and their backs are up against the wall. They're a young team. That's another thing. They haven't really faced a situation like this before.
No.
Yes, Game 7 against Denver, of course, but that was at home. But you're down 2-1 on the road, NBA Finals. You're a young team without any experience. Now, Indiana's not chock full of experience either, but I don't know. What if the lights are too bright for the Thunder tonight? That's possible. Mm-hmm. It's definitely possible. I think Indiana just continues to play well, and they push the play, and they make life very difficult to continue to try to be in control of the game for 4 quarters.
Not a lot of these players have long histories, right? Of championships and all of that type of stuff. So it is, it's kind of new for a lot of people. So
it's only Siakam, honestly.
Yeah, Siakam's the only guy who's
exactly
got
everybody, including Tyrese Haliburton and some of the younger players on Indiana that are going to be relied upon tonight. But Pascal, that's big. Again, 6 years ago tonight, he was in Golden State winning a championship. That's a long time ago. He's had a lot of playoff experience. He looks very, very good. I thought he was great the other night. He gets his shot off, man, and he's aggressive and very difficult to guard. You heard that from Draymond Green earlier in the playoffs.
I don't think so, but do you guys think the Raptors had any, ping of regret with him and OG and,
Definitely what they got for him.
Yeah.
They got nothing for Siakam. They basically gave him away.
A pick.
They got multiple picks, but none of them any good. Yeah. None of them any good. None of them. I think the best, maybe the Walter pick last year. What was that, 17th overall?
Yeah.
That's it. Pascal Siakam, who's a really good player, and look what he's doing, kind of leading this charge. He and Haliburton, number 2 guy on a possible championship team, and you get a couple of picks.
Isn't it
not good,
up to them to choose better players, though, in those picks type of thing?
Yeah, but the point is, in the NBA, if you're a star, you garner a lot of, there are deals, again, he is not Paul George, clearly, and the Paul George deal is extreme, but look what they got for Paul George.
Well, look at Rudy Gobert, got 5 first.
Exactly.
Bridges got 5 first, I believe.
Right. And Siakam, now, again, he was going to be a free agent, but he ended up re-signing in Indiana.
Yeah, so
I think the Pacers kind of thought that was going to happen. They fleeced the Raps. The Raptors waited too long, I guess, if you're going to flip them, in the end.
Yeah.
Game 4 tonight in Indiana. Here is former Raptor, longtime NBA vet, CJ Miles. How you doing, CJ?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
We're doing well. It feels as if the world is expecting Oklahoma City to tie things up tonight. Do you see it playing out that way, or are you leaning the Pacers possibly shocking the world and going up 3-1 tonight?
I honestly, I think after the first 2 games, I think the way Game 3 goes is the way the rest of the series go. They've got good feels on each other, and I think they're going to be close down in the stretch, and they're going to come down to some big plays. I think they're really that evenly matched, right? Both benches have shown that they can score. You got 50 from one team, 49 from the other team the next game. I think it's really just going to be a dogfight.
So how have the depth and role players on the Pacers played a huge role in this series?
I think it's just their energy, right? And their toughness. Not that OKC doesn't have it, but those guys got a little bit of a, TJ McConnell been around, right? He might not have been on this stage, but he's been around. And he's been playing this way for a long time. Those guys are figuring themselves out. And then I think Mathurin is just so talented, man. I think he's just figuring out how to place it, where his role really is, to be really aggressive and use all of it. He had a really good pace to himself last game, but I think with the pace and space that Pacers play with, like, it just allows all those guys to maintain their own identities and not just be standstill guys.
Well, Matherin's obviously a Canadian kid that, we love to see him playing the way that he's been playing. He shot the lights out the other night. Another Canadian kid, clearly with the focus on him tonight, will be Shea. I mean, this is where you get your back up against the wall in a situation he's never dealt with before, and really this year they've never dealt with. We were saying this prior to you coming on, CJ. Game 7 against Denver, that was big, but that was at home. And the Thunder have not played great on the road in the playoffs, and they haven't been chasing a series, and they're chasing a series. So my eyes go to Shea tonight. This is a massive, massive moment for him. What do you see him – how do you see this playing out for Shea tonight?
I just think he's got to figure out a balance, right? Like, we know who he is. We know what he does. He scores the basketball. But we've seen that type of play not work for guys over the last decade, right? Like, really just having it up high on the top of the floor or high in the slot on the wings and kind of ISO and slowing it down. I think when he finds himself in a good rhythm and is moving a little bit and he scores without really stopping the game, I think they have a better chance because those other guys get chances to just make things happen and be a part of the game. But I think he's going to be locked in. I think he's going to be tough to guard as always. He's got to be a little bit more attentive defensively this game. I think last game was the first game I've seen him in a long time. He just didn't seem engaged defensively. And I think it came from the game just kind of being different for him.
Well, CJ, you played in Indy. What is that vibe like in that market basketball-wise? Because it just seemed like it was rocking the other night, and it'll probably be the same tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, I was there. I mean, they just love basketball. Like, it's like the saying in 49 other states, it's just basketball, but this is Indiana. Like, they really make you feel that. Like, they love their basketball. They have a deep, rich history with it, and they come and they showcase it, right? And they reward guys that play the right way. So, like, when you have a team like they have with a bunch of guys who just play really, really hard in the right way, they give them a reason to cheer the way they cheer. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a cool environment, man. And I guess you're getting it from both teams, with Oklahoma City being, smaller market. And, like, they love the Thunder.
OKC feels like a college team. If you go to, like, OKC's field, it feels like a big college arena. Like, feels like a college with $1 billion.
Right.
It's like that type of thing, right? Like, and the guys are so young. You get Jalen Williams, gets the crowd barking in there, and like it's a little different, but it's the same type of thing. It's just fun energy, like joyous basketball. It's not uppity.
Absolutely, with CJ Miles, and that's coming tonight. It'll be a great, great crowd. And this Chet Holmgren, man, watching him is it's a wild watch. Just the body type, how tall he is. Yeah, that looks like he's 130 pounds. And he's 7 feet tall.
I said that before.
Yeah, it's crazy. And yet, he's effective. Like when he's on his game, like in terms of Indiana, like their approach to him tonight, what you can expect. I mean, Shea's the guy clearly that's going to drive the bus, and that's the guy they're going to be kind of tracking tonight. But Chet can get you.
Yeah.
How do you see the Pacers kind of attacking him tonight?
I think it's physicality with him right now, as it is with most young guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's figuring that out. Like, I think you go at him. The game is a little bit more taxing when it's like that. I think Miles Turner's got to be as physical with him as he can, and he's got the mobility to guard him on the perimeter too. But like, not getting him anything easy. The really, really good game you had, he got an easy putback or a layup, and he got, like, standstill threes, right? Like, he got stuff that, were warm-up shots, and now he's feeling good. There's space everywhere. But I think with him being the roller and being a lot of pick and rolls being ran, just got to be attentive and alert with him. And then on the other end, you got to attack him. I think there was one play late in the game, the last game, Miles just was way more patient with it when he caught it on a roll, and he just bumped him a couple of times, and he found his way at the rim. I think he's got to do it more.
CJ, I got to ask you a non-finals question. Where do you want to see KD go?
Oh, I was just talking to my wife about this, right? So, like, as a fan, I would like to see him, like, strictly fan, like New York or Houston. Like, from my mindset, I would like him in those two places. I think he's good for basketball wherever he goes. I think it really comes down to, like, where he's at mentally, right? Like, because what does he want to deal with? Or, like, if he's going to a younger team, like, if he came to Toronto, like, what else is going to happen?
Yeah, or if he went to the Spurs.
Right, like, or if he went to the Spurs is nuts also. The Spurs, from my fan perspective again, I would just like see the Spurs do it the way they do it, right? They got the pieces. They got the young guys. I like to let it take its course, let Wemby become who he's going to be. I know KD and CP and all these people can help him, but I think there's something about allowing a guy to, like, bloom, at his own rate in his own time when you know he's special, and it doesn't put any extra weight on it because he's already got eyes. I'm not saying that it's bothering him or anything, but he's already got enough that he's going to deal with. Like, let him deal with it on his own time. You get De'Aaron Fox in there long term. You got the Rookie of the Year. You got Vassell, who's really good, and you just find the right – Harrison Barnes is great for them, and you find the right bets, and you let it just happen. And I think it's going to happen sooner than later.
There's something that would be somewhat funny, though, to see KD go to San Antonio and the old-school basketball players watching Wemby and KD jack 33s.
100%. No, so, like, there's a part of you that is just insane to think about, to see two guys of that size and ability, like, be on the floor at the same time. Like, one of those guys averaged 26 points on 50, 40, 90 last year. Like, that's nuts.
Crazy.
And Wemby's definitely on that trajectory, and there's definitely a bunch of things that KD can show him. Like, I'm not saying it's wrong. I just think about the Spurs as being a certain way, and I think that seems out of character for them to go run out and get KD. I guess that's the best way to put it, right? Like, you think about them as being, like, it seems like it's happening again the way it happened the first time. And it'll last for 20 years, and then, like, they'll do it again.
So, CJ, before you came on, we were talking about Siakam and how he won here 6 years ago. Are you impressed with his elevation since he's left Toronto and the player that he's become and what he is?
100%. But the thing is, when I got to Toronto, like, just watching the way he worked and watching how attentive he was and watching how he was trying to just add to his game constantly, like, I wouldn't say I'm surprised. I wouldn't tell you I knew where it was going, but I'm not surprised that he got better. And I think that because of the type of person he is, also is why he's found himself in the other situations. Because a lot of guys are talented and get better and work, but, like, a lot of those guys wouldn't fit on this Indiana team. You know what I mean? Like, the mentality and the way they approach the game doesn't always fit. So I think it's been really special to watch. And when you know his story, it makes it even more special. But just the beginning of the thing, everybody just is like, if you start making pointer threes, you'll have a long career. The next thing you know, he's in the post ISOing guys. The next thing you know, he's handling the pick and roll. The next thing you know, he's shooting step back. You know what I mean? Like, it's been amazing to watch when you've seen it from the beginning.
Yeah, he is. He's an easy guy to like, man, and root for. Like, Pascal just goes out there. And he's had a great career, and he's still in his prime, and he's up 2-1 in the NBA Finals, seeing his teammates with Game 4 tonight.
My favorite thing about him, though, is that, like, the joy he plays through the game. He's excited to be in the gym all the time. Like, his energy, like, I just remember him yelling in practice as soon as he walked in the gym before we did anything. Like, he was just always happy to be there, and he carries that energy to this day, even with the amount of time that he's put into his craft. And, guys get burnt out, or they expect to be treated a certain way, or they get to a point and they kind of, like, plateau, and he seems to not be doing that at all.
Exactly that. And he's still rocking, and, Eastern Conference Final MVP, and, we'll see what comes of it as we move forward with the finals. Game 4 tonight. CJ, enjoy it. Thank you for doing this. We appreciate it.
You too, guys, man. Thank you.
You got it. CJ Miles, former Raptor, longtime NBA vet. It's interesting. Like, Siakam's, he's still in the midst of his career, and if he gets a title in Indiana, what will be interesting is at the end of it, what will he be remembered as, a Raptor or a Pacer? I'm not sure what that answer would be.
I don't know that there's an answer.
It might be the Pacers because he'll play a more prominent role. He played a prominent role in the Raps, but that was Kawhi first, probably Lowry second, some combination of maybe Gasol, Ibaka, Fred, Siakam kind of jumbled together. Where down there, it's clear like it's Halliburton 1, Siakam 2, and if he plays, 10 years plus in Indiana, then he'll probably be remembered as a Pacer. But he'll return to Toronto in 10, 15 years and be a legend here. And, like, for the longest time, there were great players, like fan favorites that would come back, like the Junkyard Dogs and, Alvin Williams and guys like that, but they never won. And, the next wave, when Fred comes back and Siakam comes back and Ibaka comes back, they're going to have the rings with them. And the Panthers and the banners up in the ceiling. I mean, it's,
Am I
it's just
remembering
a
this
totally
right?
different level of legendary status.
Didn't he start playing basketball at 17? Am I remembering that right?
I don't know if it was that late in life, but I think he started pretty late, I believe.
It's kind of nuts.
Yeah, it really is. It is.
That is.
I think he went, where'd he go? New Mexico State?
Yeah.
I think he went to school.
And he was like wasn't he a late first?
Late first. Yeah, I think 27th overall or something. Like, that's the kind of stuff you got to do. You were just talking about it, Noodles. You got to find a guy. You got to find a guy late in the first round. If that's where you pick, you got to find him.
Yep.
All right, best bets coming up. We'll come back and sneak in a couple of Dear Hazy B's as well.
Yes.
Get people set up for a big weekend, Father's Day on Sunday. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
TSN 1050. Your Toronto Argos take on the Calgary Stampeders for their 2025 home opener at BMO Field. Coverage starts at 3:30 p.m. Hear it all on TSN 1050. The Argos live here. Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
People send in a tweet. They write us for our professional advice on life things. Dear Hazy B, every morning my boiler has a gas leak. My wife thinks it's the baby.
Dear Hazy B.
If you want to come to Hazy B, I need honesty from you.
Hazy, you got dumped a lot. Tell me. Tell him.
Grown adults with birthdays, it's asinine.
All right, Dear Hazy B, brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. This playoff season, Boston Pizza is planning the parade and has a new all-star playoff menu for you to enjoy. For pizza, pints, and puck drops, visit your local Boston Pizza today. So the O-Dog is off today. He's off, and I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he's preparing for Father's Day, right? Father of
Probably.
three.
Yeah.
I would guess so. Yeah, maybe taking an early Father's Day. And I've had a bunch of people send in messages, and I actually ran into a guy today. And I want all of us to chime in. Jonas, you're looking at this through a very different lens, right? Yep. Very different lens for you. This is what he was telling me. He's like, I kind of want to go out and play. Might be pushing to really play 36 and take advantage of the Father's Day. Can I get away with that? Is that the right play first Father's Day?
Ooh.
I said the same thing. I had the same reaction.
36 is rich. Go 18, and your wife will go, hey, like, go 18, and then come home, have brunch with us, or have lunch, or we've got something else planned. 36 is a commitment.
Yes.
You're
gone. You're leaving.
Gone for the day. That's it.
Day.
Like, we'll see you at dinner type of thing. So I think that's rich. 18. Like, you know what? Your wife might want you to go 9 and just come home and type of thing. But it is your day. So whatever you want to do. But 36 is too rich for me.
First, this is what I told him, and you tell me how you feel about this. And this is my experience. Now, my kids are getting older.
Right.
But early in the Father's Day era is about being at home with the kids. And it's not, yes, it's Father's Day. It's as you get older, then it's like, I'm going to do what I want to do, right? Like, I know that from my experience, like, with my dad or whatever, like, as you get older, when my kids are teenagers, I'm going to play. Like, if I want to play golf, I'm like, I'm out of here. They'll probably be sleeping till noon anyway. They're not going to care if I'm around. When your kids are younger, they care that you're around. They want to celebrate the day, right? They have cards made for you. Like, the idea of your kids waking up and you're on the 13th on your way to playing 36. I would suggest not doing that.
It's just too much.
Don't the rules, isn't it like, I know how you feel about birthdays, Noodles, but isn't it like your birthday where you just get to do what you want?
Not really, Noodles.
No?
Or not really, Jonas.
No.
You could tell you don't have kids because of that comment.
Because
That's
it is
real
important.
Life.
It's important to the kids. Like, they've made cards at school. Like, they want to present you. They want to give you breakfast in bed. They want the whole and listen, 20 minutes later they'll be on their iPads or doing whatever else. But they want that initial, like, I'm going to make the effort. I made the effort all last week at school, making a card for you and all that. And they get up and you're gone. You're like, I'll see you at 11:15. By that time, they don't care. Like,
so why not just book your tea time a little later?
I think
you know what it is too. There's
a bad look
with young kids too. If you're leaving, your wife is also like, okay, I'm here solo on the weekend. There's a game you're playing, Jonas. I guess is what I'm telling you.
You're treading water.
Yes, you got to be careful early on. Again, as you get older, kids get older, then it is officially your day. You go do whatever you want. I'm out of here. I'm going to do this, do that. Probably be home for dinner. Like, I always find. I don't know where you stand on this, Noodles, but Father's Day, I'm always going to barbecue. I'm going to go get a couple steaks tomorrow, probably a bottle of wine or something, and that'll be Sunday, I guess. Maybe I'll try to do something tomorrow night because the hockey game is tomorrow night. That's a play for you. You want to start Father's Day early, fire it up on Saturday night.
Father's
roll it
weekend.
into Sunday.
Yeah.
Why not a full weekend? We deserve it. You're right, Jonas.
It is.
It should be
It's
Father's weekend. That's
it's
what
a
it is
bit
in this
rich.
house
Yeah.
as of today. Starting right now.
See, I don't mind going out. Like, I know the plan for when I get home off the plane coming back. We're going to have lunch at the mother-in-law's, which is great because her food's amazing.
Yep.
And then we're planning on going out. Like, I like this restaurant called Scatterbush.
Oh,
Guys,
brilliant place. Brilliant
yeah.
place.
I love it. So we might be looking at that. Like,
Okay, so you're a dinner guy. All right, I appreciate that.
I don't mind it. I also try to. We always have we have a rule in our house, like we try and do either family movie night or we eat out once a week as a group and all that type of stuff. So you're trying to, have a night. So I think that night it will be, and it just happens to fall on Father's Day. Like
Perfect.
I don't like a big fuss made about me ever on
I'm in the same
birthdays,
boat.
Christmas. I don't accept presents. I don't like that stuff. I'm not
neither.
really
Wait,
big
what?
on that.
I'm
I'm not
in the
a
same
big.
boat.
You don't
I don't want
accept
anything.
presents?
Well, it's not that I don't accept them, but I don't.
You don't
I
really
don't need
want
any.
them.
Again, Christmas for adults, it's almost like the Christmas for birthday. Like, I know adults who put a list together. I'm like, who the hell are you giving a list to?
Yeah.
Like your relatives. Like, I need this and that. Like, no, it's for kids.
That is absurd behavior. Like if you have a list put together, if you're over the age of, I don't know, 18.
Yes,
like the
exactly.
idea of expecting
an adult.
anything.
If you're an adult and you put a list of things that you would like for Christmas, you're a lunatic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's
You
the
should
way
be
I look at
on
it.
a watch list somewhere.
You guys are Grinches.
Now,
Well, it's not
Jonas,
great.
we're
So, Jonas,
reasonable.
what you
Do you have a
you've
list,
got a
Jonas?
list?
Do you tell Orla? Do you just whisper to her, "Hey, just so you know, I
No,
want
but if
PS5.
she wants to know what I would want, like it's the choice between her just getting things that maybe I don't want. I don't do a list. Let me be honest.
I think you're a list guy.
Exactly.
No,
I
I'm
think
not.
we stumbled across Jonas is a list guy.
Jonas does a list, and
I'm surprised by that, Jonas. But I can
you
say
put it
this-
on the fridge. Like you put the list on the fridge and go, I want these 5 things, and then I don't know. I've never ever done that in my life. I've had some unique. I've had some unique Christmas gifts over the years.
Because you don't have a list. You just let people
but
get what they're going
How
to get.
often do you have stuff that you really are craving anyway? I just don't have a like maybe I'm boring but I don't I don't recall the last time I was like I have to have like golf stuff. I love the golf, but I'm going to get that. Like I don't want anyone else to feel any I don't need a golf shirt or whatever. I got all that stuff.
Do you get gifts for Father's Day? Is that a thing?
No, I don't think so. I mean, my guess would be my wife will, if she gets something, it'll be very practical, and it'll be something we'll both use, which is great. I'm not like, it's not me smack talking it. It'll be something that's like, oh, that's actually great. We did want that. You know, I have a sneaking suspicion. I know that she got like a new espresso machine or something because we've been talking about that. Big coffee family. We love coffees. That's great. Like, that's the kind of stuff that would come up, and I'd be like, oh, that's a good idea. But I wouldn't, like, 2 weeks ago be like, hey, Nespresso, like, hey, I'm leaving hints, and if I don't get it, I'm disappointed.
Well, I just, the only thing I ever get a lot of times is gift certificates now. I like Cineplex. I'll get an Amazon card, and then everybody uses my Amazon account at the house anyways, so a lot of that money's just eaten
You're just
up
paying for other people.
Other thing. Paying for other things, knickknacks that show up at the door. So it's not, it's not anything overwhelming, but I don't need it. Like you feel blessed sometimes. You're like, okay, that's fine. You don't need it. I prefer, like I always felt like Christmas is like for the kids.
Yes.
You give them, and Halloween and all
Jonas.
of that stuff. It's not for
the kids
adults
and Jonas.
Christmas is for kids and Jonas.
Kids
exactly.
and Jonas. That's who it's for. Jonas to have a list and the kids. All right, there you go. Dear Hazy B. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm taking the points down to 6. It was 6.5 this morning on FanDuel. I'm taking Pacers +6, Tyrese Halliburton 20+ points, and Aaron Nesmith 2+ made threes, paying +390. Like I like that parlay. I like the Pacers to keep it close. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel Live. Same game parlays are available for every NBA Finals game. Available on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 19+ and physically located in Ontario. All right, so we got Game 5 tomorrow of the Stanley Cup Final. That is a quick turnaround, man. I like it.
Yeah.
It's great, but like the whole travel thing, they wasted the travel day in Florida.
It's insane, though, I think, because that's, 3,000 miles or whatever they're flying, like it on an off day, time change, all of that. Like it should have been Monday. Should have been Monday, Wednesday, then 2 days off Saturday here.
100%.
I just don't know why they didn't do it.
100%. But nevertheless, it's Saturday, and then it's Tuesday, I believe.
And then it's Friday.
And then Friday, yeah. So after tomorrow night, there's 2 full off days between each game. And we know it's going at least 6. And we know by 6, someone's going to be in the lead and the Cup's going to be in the building. So that's coming. Jays in Philly this weekend, the U.S. Open. There's still guys out there hacking and whacking and slashing it around. I wonder where your boy Thurston ended up. Where is this guy? Let me take a quick look.
Thurston Howell the third.
Thurston Lawrence is 1 over for the tournament, so he's chopping it. Yeah, 4 over for the day. But anyway, the leader in the clubhouse, Sam Burns. All right, boys. Great seeing you guys. Great seeing you, Jonas. Thank you for doing this as always. Noodles, great seeing you. Happy Father's Day to everyone out there. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, and up on YouTube Live. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy your weekends. We're back Monday at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.